That was a mistake, Jennifer. You know I buy bots on Twitch, right? The evidence was damning. I'm waiting for it to pop up. They'll probably be 45 minutes late. I keep refreshing Musk's page. I haven't seen it yet. Wait. It looks live. Then it says details not available. What the fuck? Did I just click on it too soon? Oh my god, I fucked something up. Hold on. I clicked on it, my screen went like half gray. I think I clicked on it too soon. Spaces sucks, dude. Spaces details not available. Unable to fetch space. Is it for real? Breaking Twitter. I'll keep refreshing. I promise I'm trying. Spaces is a horrible, unfinished fucking product that they won't fix. I wonder if somebody's just relaying it. This was all a big ploy to get him back on Twitter, too. I saw, oh no, they've shut it down. Maybe they fired it up wrong. Or maybe Donald Trump wasn't supposed to host, Elon was. I'm sure Elon's got Elon should have, like, he owns the company. He should have, like, the best bandwidth and shit to, like, do this, right? Like, there shouldn't be anybody else. Like, he should get the go-ahead to do this right, but let's see what we can get. I'll go back to Elon. Thank you guys for joining us. I'm Bird. This is the Cold Beer Confessional. So the link on Donald Trump is gone. We're going to try to watch this debate, or this interview, conversation, I think is what they're calling it. Now it's back up. Let me see, because I'll grab it somewhere else if it won't load. I'm going to see. It says details not available, space not available, unable to fetch space. We'll steal someone else's. Somebody say David Pacman's live. Live. No, hold on. Elon, Trump. We'll filter it by live. They crashed X. Sounds about right. Who is this? Live now on Fox. Trump meets with Elon Musk. Space it. That's a fake one. But we should be able to filter these, right? Filter by live. Who are these people? There's so many fake Elon channels. Oh my God, the whole thing's down. Well, we'll try to watch this. Yeah, it's shit right now. Welcome, everybody. I know the quartering was going to try to cover on Twitter, like as a Twitter video. But I'd rather die than watch the quartering. I'm telling you, Spaces is like a shitty fucking product, dude. Like, I don't know. I couldn't get my microphone to work. We tried this the other day. It's listed from 15 minutes ago. We won't even fetch it. Look. Details not available. Nothing available. I wonder if anybody else is having any luck. Let's try somebody.
Rally
they're broadcasting a bunch of fake Elon shit. There's like 24 hours of these fake Elon channels.
You're able to access the space because we currently cannot.
They're doing the same thing. Everybody is.
That everybody is going to have the same issue.
Nope, just you. Dude, I love the chat summaries. Have you guys seen the chat summaries pop up now? There's these AI-generated chat summaries where they read your chat when you
that our crypto giveaway is
when you join a live stream that's already going.
The QR code.
They jump in. This is clearly AI. Oh my God, this is gonna be the biggest scammer day ever. Anyways, they do. These live streams and pretend like they're Musk, but they change everything around, right? 16 minutes, the same one is still broken. They like do this AI bullshit with his voice and tell you to invest in like his crypto and shit. It's pretty bad. So Donald Trump's back on Twitter. Donald Trump's back on Twitter. This is all it took. I guarantee you his numbers are hurting if he's back on Twitter. He said he would never return, no matter what. No matter what deal Elon Musk told him, no matter what he offered, it did not matter. I like Ludwig. That he wouldn't be back. Yeah, and they're too proud to use YouTube. Look. Everybody's doing the same thing. Ooh. Olympic Games. Anyways, there's a bunch of scam channels. I do 100%. Oh, wait, it shows a microphone beside him. Can I get in that way? It just does this frozen, like frosted screen. The YouTube has an AI generative chat feature now. So if you join a live stream that's already going, I guess the AI reads the chat and it'll say users in the chat are arguing that they think Brad Barton's a retard. Like it does, and it's usually a not great synopsis of the chat, but it's still fun. I like the AI chat feature to get you caught up on chat before you start chatting. Before you start chatting, not trapping. That's something different. Yeah, I don't think anybody can get it. Every video I clicked on, nobody's been able to get it. We can refresh. They're too proud to go to like YouTube, which has the bandwidth and capacity and shit to do this. Even if they want to do audio only, nobody's got to turn on a video, right? But they're too proud for that shit. So instead, we'll sit here and nothing will work. I wonder how fake this is. Live now from Fox. That might actually be legit. This is the hacking, the Iran cyber hacking. Seems like it's going after both campaigns. But obviously Trump's got a fucking a crosshair on his back from Iran for sure. So I had a really, really, really good video idea. You guys want to hear it? The stupid mods talked me out of it, but I had a really, really, really good video idea. Okay. Suppose I create a brand new social media accounts. Okay. And on this brand new social media account, I basically I'm like this loner, like a lot of 4chan, a lot of crazy, and I'm documenting it all behind the scenes. But I make up a fake persona. I would go get a fucking new line, a fake phone number, everything, this fake persona. I'm like this loner, outcast kid who just sometimes tops violence, but then says like in a video game. And then I start looking for like, where's President Trump going to be, right? Where's Mar-a-Lago? What's near Mar-a-Lago? What's a vantage point that may see over Mar-a-Lago? Then I start researching rifles. Then I start researching bullets. Then I start researching like max effective range, local ranges near me with at least 300 yards, right? And leave this entire paper trail, and it culminates, and I documented it all behind the scenes, and it culminates in a flight and an Uber app ride to just outside Mar-a-Lago. And I'll be there in like a t-shirt that says, I'm innocent, don't shoot, right? But everybody says the Secret Service is felon. Let's see. Let's test them. Let's see if when I get to the place that I've researched with all my plan laid out, let's see if anybody's waiting on me, right? That's a good idea, right? Maybe I get stopped in the airport and I never make it there. Obviously, I won't have any type of anything on me, right? It'd just be me standing there like an idiot. But, let's fact check the fact checkers. Here we go. I'm doing it. The more I say it, the better it sounds. I'm doing it. What are the chances? What are the chances they're there waiting on me? I'll document every paper trail, every forum post I make where I'm like, yeah, I just wish somebody would take care of this guy. Fuck Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? Get it? Then I just show up. Let's see what happens. Maybe they stop me at the airport. Maybe they stop me when I fill out my background information to buy a firearm, right? I wouldn't actually buy it. I'd just have them run the NICS check and then decide against buying the firearm. But maybe they stop me then. Maybe they catch me when I land. Maybe they reroute my Uber to Secret Service headquarters. I don't know. But if I get up on that balcony, and I'm wearing a t-shirt that says, hey, Secret Service, I'm innocent, don't shoot, and there's nobody there, tell me that wouldn't be an amazing video. They failed us again. I want heads to roll. I want to see them rolling down the avenue. That would be an amazing video, dude. Well, they can't just shoot me for no reason, right? Like, they got to see a firearm or something. If I don't have a gun or nothing, they're just like, that's our guy. That's our guy. I don't have a backpack. I don't have a gun. It's just me in a pair of T-shirts and gym shorts, right? Butt-ass naked. Nothing but a light coat of baby oil. That way they know I'm not carrying concealed. I guess I'd have to spread my ass cheeks for them. But still, have someone else record. That's right. Have them record like a telescopic lens. I'm just fucking butt-ass naked. That way they don't mistake me for like... Yeah, you know what we're doing, chat. We're going for it. Somebody start researching flights to Mar-a-Lago. Speedos and Crocs. I don't tell Mariah the best ideas. Mariah's a fun sucker, okay? She sucks all the fun out of the room. Nobody can get this shit to work. Awesome. Well, if you guys want to hang out with me for no reason, I'm pretty sure I could do it. McGruber. There's nobody better to do it. I'll tell you that much. I guarantee you, if I've had this idea, other people... Oh, I've got another good idea for a TikTok video. You guys want to hear it? Don't steal my idea, chat. Assholes. I'm over here trying to pay my bills with this, and y'all are thinking, I can steal this idea. Come on. I bought a pack of 36. Okay? 36. Oh, thank you for your subscription.
Just resubscribed for 14 months.
I bought a pack of 36. They're these little like single like little boards, like little printed circuit boards, and they're about the size of like a round battery because that's what goes in them. But all they do is they randomly make a cricket chirping sound. So I've got 36 battery powered. The battery lasts for 3 years. Cricket chirping sound devices, wireless, battery powered. I'm going to slip one into the office every day until I get busted. And I hope at the end of it, it sounds like an orchestra of crickets. And I'm gonna go in there every day and record until I hear the cricket chirp. That way I know I haven't been busted yet, and then I'm gonna leave. Every day at the office at the campground, I'm gonna go in there and just stand around till a cricket chirps, and then I'm gonna leave. And then I'm gonna make a daily series over on TikTok, and then I'll probably post some to YouTube Shorts. I'll make a daily series until I get busted, and see what happens. They've at least got music playing on Spaces, but it hasn't started yet. I don't even know if anybody's getting that. Hold on. I have pretty good internet. I'm assuming it's on their end, though, not mine.
I'm about to have a friend for dinner. As this poor doctor walks by, I'm about to have a friend for dinner. But Hannibal Lecter, congratulations, the late great Hannibal Lecter. Is that real?
That's a real quote. That's a real quote. Trump worships Hannibal Lecter for some reason, and no one knows why. The media hates it. They hate it when I talk about the late, great Dr. Hannibal Lecter. I'm going to have a friend for dinner. Dude, I found, you know how I showed you a JD Vance impersonator last night? Dude, I found a better one. I know you thought it couldn't happen. It did. There is a better JD Vance impersonator. I shared it to the mods last night. Actually, it might still be up here somewhere. It's not the Daily Show. Yeah, I've closed it, but I can grab it. Oh, no, here he is. Dude, I showed you Mark, some guy Mark, yesterday. Watch this guy. Oh, don't do this to me.
Hey, JD.
Let's close this and refresh it. It's probably where it's been open for like hours. I've been busy. I haven't been back to the post office. I'm getting my, I'm gonna sell my dad's van and his vehicles and stuff. I've been getting them already. I've been then doing that, then here. All right, here we go. I'll go check it tonight when I leave.
Hey America, JD Vance here. You know, I was watching Harold and the Purple Crayon with my stupid little son the other day, and it got me thinking. There's some things that Kamala Harris does that just flat out stink.
Now, this is a shot at... Did you hear what he said about his son? He was on a podcast, and he's like, my son's really into Pokemon right now. You guys know what Pokemon is? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, trying to talk to President Trump on the phone, and my son's like, look at Pikachu. Dad, look at Pikachu. Dad, look at my Pokemon. Look at my Pokemon. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. I'm trying to talk to the president. Like, he said that in an interview. Like, that's how he treats his kids. Like, I understand there's always been times where you're, like, on the phone or some shit, and you're like, what the fuck, dude? Chill the fuck out. What are you doing? But you don't go out in public and be like, I told him to shut the fuck up about his stupid-ass cards.
Okay, JD Vance here. You know, I was watching Harold and the Purple Crayon with my stupid little son the other day, and it got me thinking. There's some things that Kamala Harris does that just flat out stink. One, she's a girl.
Ugh.
Two, she listens to rap music, or as I call it, bad music. And 3, she's in California. That's where they make boys wear girls' underwear. I'm from Ohio. We're respectful to boys. We make them wear the good white underwear. Hey, America.
Hey, JD Vance here, and I'm not a weird guy. I'm a cool guy, and I want to do cool stuff. Like, I want to ban contraception so you can bust for real. I want to make it so that if factory workers work really hard, they can watch Roku. And I want to make it so...
If you're a factory worker and you work really, really hard, you can afford a Roku.
that there's a law where girls have to go out with nice guys. Girls never go out with nice guys. They just go out with jerks. What's up with that? Hey, JD Vance here.
Hi, JD Vance here.
Sage, can you get the Elon Musk Trump shit? I can't get into it.
Hi, JD Vance here. Liberals have been calling me weird. Well, I got some news for you. Would a weird guy wear a big nightshirt and nothing else to bed? Would a weird guy brush his teeth with scalding hot water? Would a weird guy have an overdue library book called Black People Handshakes? Would a weird guy have a nightmare about a transgender horse winning the Kentucky Derby, scare him so bad he ran around the house in his nightshirt, all cold on his bottom? Vote for me.
Double cheeks out, all cold on his bottom. Have a nightmare about a transgender horse winning the Kentucky Derby.
Hi, I'm JD Vance. I want everybody to know what my platform actually is. I want to ban songs with electric guitar from the radio. I want to bring back the John Birch Society.
Right.
And I want to issue an actual V card. That's right, I want to make V cards real. Physical, government-issued card that represents your virginity that you have to present at the voting booth. Otherwise, we're going to throw your vote in the trash.
You have to present your V card to vote, or we're gonna throw your vote in the fucking trash.
Hi, America. JD Vance here. You know, liberals have been calling me weird. Well, I had the thought the other day, liberals are the ones who are weird. They do weird stuff all the time, like be gay and have vegetarian lunch. So, next time a liberal calls me weird, I'm gonna say, hey, I'm not the one whom loves to skip church.
I'm not the one whom loves to skip church on Sundays. By the way, somebody in the comments says, be careful. This ad would 100% work on my parents.
Not the one whom loves to skip church. Hi, America. JD Vance here. You know,
it's supposed to start at 8, but it's just crap. So, Twitter Spaces is a shit, unfinished goddamn product. Like, it shouldn't even be viable. Like, what they should do is have a like alpha and beta testers.
Just resubscribed for 18 months.
Thank you. Chicka boom. They shouldn't have the general public on it right now. There's no fucking way.
Hi, I'm JD Vance, and I'm just a simple guy from Appalachia, and I want simple things. I want to bring back McCarthyism. I want to make wearing thong underwear punishable by lethal injection. And lastly, I want to burn books. The first book I'll burn is Monster Blood, the Goosebumps book, because it gave me nightmares about there being monster blood. Hi, I'm...
He... Oh, copy link address. Here's the link. The guy's name is Vote Sam Wiles. Vote Sam, W-I-L-E-S, but there's the link. He wants to make wearing a thong the death penalty offense.
I'm JD Vance, and I'm just a simple guy from Appalachia, and I want simple things. I want to bring back McCarthyism. I want to make wearing thong underwear punishable by lethal injection. And lastly, I want to burn books. The first book I'll burn is Monster Blood, the Goosebumps book, because it gave me nightmares about there being monster blood.
I went fat to the doctor.
So he's really a comedian. So here you go. Here's just some of his stand-up. This is the only video he posted on his account was from like 5/9/2023, and then he may have deleted them. To be fair, he may have deleted them, but when he started this video and then all of his JD Vance videos, the only thing on his account right now.
I went fat to the doctor. You guys ever been fat at the doctor? They don't even look up from the clipboard. You just be like, Doc, I'm bleeding, and they'll just be like, well, you got a lot of blood, so. I went fat to the doctor.
Well, you got a lot of blood. All right, let's try it again. I can't believe people are even getting music to play. Musk is claiming there's a DDoS attack. Of course he is. Let's see what Jeremy from the Quartering has. I'm guessing nothing. I would rather die than watch it from the Quartering, by the way. Even his shit won't play. Makes sense. There appears to be a massive DDoS attack on X, working on shutting it down. Worst case, we will proceed with a smaller number of live listeners and post the conversation later. Bullshit. Bullshit. You know what you... I don't even know why he would say that. You know you can't... Unless it's like orders of magnitude too large, you physically can't tell with people just hopping on to watch this and a DDoS attack, right? There could just be millions of people hopping on to fucking listen to this. It would be better off if he said, okay, we're just overrun with people. But he doesn't want people to know that Twitter Spaces is an unusable piece of fucking shit. It's a horrible, it's just, the whole thing's fucking horrible. It's a horrible experience. The only good part is there's a bunch of fucking, because it's Twitter, is there's a bunch of Trump tards running around. Literally arguing with everybody, but that's about it. There's been an update. So the men's breakdancing Australian competitor, there you go. He's working double duty, trying to bring honor back to Australia. So he can actually breakdance. It wasn't like a nobody in Australia can breakdance. Oh, talk about cringy.
POV. 100 days left before President Trump delivers another knockout.
Got a good stance, Loki. You got a jab, I think. That's pretty good. We're not messing with this guy.
But you ain't ready for these shots. All these holes in your story like a French pair of Crocs. You invested in these bodies like some S&P stocks, and you cheated on your wife with that kid on Roblox.
You cheated on your wife like with the kid on Roblox. Ah. Yeah, this Jake Paul thing is so fucking cringy, dude. So fucking.
100 days left before President Trump delivers another knockout.
Got a good stance, Loki. You got a jab, I think. That's pretty good. We're not messing with this guy.
Aiden Ross called out. So Aiden Ross, the other day he was on Kick. That's the only place where he's allowed. He was on Kick and he was broadcasting some copyright infringing bullshit, right? And someone from like Kick moderation said, "Hey, the stuff you're broadcasting isn't allowed on the platform." And he went like off on a tirade, and he's like, "Fucking ban me, I dare you," because he's like too big for Kick now because he got to interview Trump. He's like, "Fucking ban me, I dare you, fucking ban me." They did, but it was just for a couple minutes, and then he was back. No balls. Worst case, I guarantee you that's what they're gonna do. They don't have the bandwidth to support the people who want to listen to how retarded this is. So they're going to proceed with less listeners, right? And then they'll just post it later. He now says he's moving to Canada if Trump loses. God, I hope so. Fuck Aiden Ross. Aiden Ross is like a legit piece of shit. Like some of his worst takes, like I wouldn't even show on my channel because he'd get me fucking banned. Also, you know how some states are called a commonwealth? Some states are called like a commonwealth, right? There was somebody in my notifications. Here we go. Sovereign Office of SPK. Claim. This is their claim. So this was Derek. Tagged me in this birth certificate shit. And it says, public notice birth certificate trust. This reveals the specific section of the United States Municipal Code where a birth certificate trust was established in 1995 and details the context of its creation, a British territorial corporation doing business as the United States of America, all this shit about turning in your birth certificate, right? And it says, if you think about it, you've seen these trusts all your life: Northern Trust, Southern Trust, U.S. Trust, United States Trust, United States Trustees, which all those mean something different. But anyways, in the comments, someone was like, hey, I wish you'd do like a deep dive on this. Let me go back. I wish you'd do like a deep dive on this. It was Mr. Derek to you. I'd pay to see you deep dive this from you at some point if you would be down to investigate it. Well, we've done it before, but it's all bullshit. So then the guy at the top, the poster, says, that's right. This is not our side, my friend. Then somebody named Michelle responds, time is not on their side. It's also fraudulent man-made construct. So these are people that think they're trading your birth certificate and the numbers on it like stocks because they own you as slaves. And the only way to get out of that is become a sovereign citizen. So then this sovereign office guy comes in. He says, time has run out for them. Too many know the birth certificate fraud. Name fraud, all caps. But he types like he's having a manic episode, right? Name fraud, all caps, bonds, jurisdiction, man versus corporation. Do you know Rex, spelled R3X, and Regina, R3G1NA, goes way deeper than you know. So someone says, who are they, R and R? And he says, now this is his claim. In the Commonwealth realms, when you commit an offense like social disorder, driving, etc., where there's no actual victim, R and R become the victim. Depends who's on the throne. If it was Regina, that'd be a Queen of England. Now it's Rex, King, I guess. KC. How do I know this? I had R named as my victim 2 years ago. And then he types in Rex and Regina on Google, and it says Royal Cipher. It's a system used by various Commonwealth realms. The title is abbreviated R for Rex or Regina, Latin for king and queen. So let's type this in. And you get a Wikipedia page for Royal Cipher. It says the modern heraldry, a Royal Cipher is a monogram or monogram-like device of a country's reigning sovereign, typically consisting of the initials of the monarch's name and title, sometimes interwoven and often surmounted by a crown. Such a cipher, as used by the emperor or empress, is called the imperial cipher. In the system used by various Commonwealth realms, the title abbreviated as R for Rex or Regina, Latin for king and queen. Previously, I stood for imperator or imperatrix, Latin for emperor or empress, or of the Indian Empire. Royal ciphers appear on some government buildings, impressed upon royal and state documents, and are used by governmental departments. They also appear on other governmental structures and are under a particular ruler. For example, the insignia of N the Third for Napoleon III is seen on some Paris bridges, such as the Pont à Change. I have no idea. Anyways, he claims that the state he lives in, because it's a Commonwealth, uses this. Now, this is 100% a fucking lie, right? This is 100% a lie. No state is charging you and saying the victim is Rex and Regina for the Commonwealth. Posting interviews later for everyone else. Doing smaller at 8:30. All roads lead to Latin Rome. I knew about the victim rule. No victim, no crime. This is also not true. So there is no victim, no crime. The victim is the public. Just like something as simple as speeding, right? It's still a crime, and the victim is everybody else, right? Just because they don't name a victim, because you didn't hit them, because you didn't fucking drive over them, you didn't shoot them, you didn't kill them, you didn't infringe on them some way, it's still a crime, right? When we had some sovereign citizens come on the stream one time, and I was like, they're like, just like speed limits, we don't need speed limits. And I was like, well, what about, let's say, a school zone? What if your kids are in school? You want people driving 100 miles an hour through a school zone? You want people speeding through a school zone? they immediately replied with, people wouldn't do that. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, people wouldn't speed through us. We would just do the right thing. And then the question becomes, okay, so right now there are speed limits and people still speed in school zones. So you're telling me if we removed that speed limit in a school zone that people wouldn't speed? Like, they do it right now with a law, right? With a punishment, with a police officer sitting there, and they still do it. So if we pull all of that out, suddenly they just be like, nah, no, bro, I don't do that. School zone speeding, that's for chumps. They don't have to tell me. Anyways, but I didn't know they were using bogus people for victims. This is completely insane, unconstitutional, and definitely not the laws of America. It's maritime law. R&R aren't really victims per se. They are commercial entities that don't allow anyone to do business without their cut in everything. Think 10% for the big guy. Well, R&R is the giant guy who takes his or her 10% from even the big guy, even from the big guys. Laugh out loud. Look them up. All about business. I would love to take a peek inside some of these motherfuckers' minds one time. Public apology given to victims of historical, institutional, something from YouTube. What power have you got? Where did you get it from? In whose interest do you exercise it? To whom are you accountable? How do we get rid of you? And if you can't get rid of the people who govern you, you don't live in a democratic system.
What power have you got? Where did you get it from? In whose interest do you exercise it? To whom are you accountable, and how can we get rid of you? And if you can't get rid of the people who govern you, you don't live in a democratic system. What power have you got? Where did you get it from? In whose interest do you exercise it? To whom are you accountable, and how can we get rid of you?
5 p.m. Eastern video. This sums up the mood of the country perfectly. So that's from the UK. DMX, X going to give it to you. Thank you for the resubscription. Look, thank you very much for the resubscription. I appreciate it. God damn it, Will. That's right. The British police. So right now, apparently, some Americans are flooding British emergency lines with fake calls. And the British police made the statement that they were going to potentially arrest Americans and extradite them, and up to and including possibly Elon Musk. That, you guys know that's not happening, right? Like, they're not extraditing. They will not be extraditing people for this. Oh, here we go. They will not be extraditing people for nothing, for prank calls. Okay, it's just not happening. We're here, baby. We're in. What's up, Still Falling? God, I hope he tries to host. Like, when he finally puts people on fucking Mars, I hope he tries to host. No, there won't be a video. It's Twitter Spaces. It's only audio. Hope he tries to host the first live chat from Mars on a Twitter Space. Twitter Space doesn't even have the option to do video. This is our biggest interview in history, and now we're asking you to make it the President Trump's biggest fundraising day ever. Before the interview is over, we're calling on 10 million patriots to donate any amount and proudly say, I stand with Trump. Wow. Wow. It's got 800,000 listeners in it right now. Too big to rig, they say. I'm from Australia. How do I donate? If Elon Musk is donating millions of dollars to the Trump campaign, he's a foreign national and the owner of a giant fucking social media and the owner of companies with government contract. How the fuck? What are the laws around this shit? Hated for exposing the truth. Hated for letting the truth be told. Bulldogs for Vivek. What role will offer Vivek Ramaswamy? That looks just like Trump. I can tell from here. 6'4", 220. He's killing it, dude. Trump's killing it. I'm afraid to pretend like I like Trump too much. People would take it seriously. It's still here. Everybody's just muted right now. I don't even see Elon Musk in here, but I see Trump. He's here and muted as the host. 10 million seems like a big ask. Will you help us get back on track by rushing a contribution today? So this is from Tim Kaine. Has it started? I only hear music. I don't even hear fucking music. I don't hear shit. Please post the link to the space. Ooh, something just flashed over here. There's no way to speed up, slow down. There's nothing you can do. It's up to 900,000 people now, though. They should have set this up where they could. Okay, Elon's in here now. They should have set this up to where they could both host a space, by the way. We need to be fully prepared to fight back and elect Donald J. Trump on November 5th to make... You know who really bothers me a lot? The Republicans who talk about they're all about the Constitution. They're all about this. They're all about saving America. They're all about the original intent of the Constitution. Those people that have... Every one of those people should be voted out of office for January 6th and then supporting Donald Trump to run again. 100%. Like we've never been closer to a hostile takeover during the transfer of power, right? And then for them to come out and be like, oh, yeah, he's our guy just because that's party lines. Fuck them guys. If they had more of a backbone, they would have stood up and been like, he shouldn't run. Or maybe he's not even eligible to fucking run, and we need someone else to run. But they're too worried about winning, right? They'll put up with his shit and his lies and the stuff he says, the unconstitutional bullshit, as long as they got fucking red in the White House or think they have a chance at red in the White House. But there's no going back to say that they support the Constitution. They can never claim that someone else is like, well, they'll destroy America. Like it's only been them, always. The space is already glitching. I think it already did for me twice. Never seen this before. Space is not available. So we're in. Elon's here. Trump's here. Nobody's doing, but it's not 8. Well, it's 8:40 now. I was going to say it's probably not 8:30 yet. Meet the people who worked for Trump in the White House. The vast majority of them say he's utterly unfit for office. That does look bad, right? When these people that worked for you are like, he's unfit for office. The way they used to say, there's been people talk about him recording his security when he gets... So, as the president, you get a daily security brief. You get a daily briefing on basically everything. Some of them's more important than others, you know, but a lot of the security and how the world events, that he would interrupt them to tell them stories that related to him and shit. Like, they won't. I'm not impressed either, obviously. I tried Twitter Spaces, and I'll probably broadcast to it just because there's a bunch of people I want to argue with over there. But it's not a good platform, and they're too proud. They'll never take it to YouTube. They'll never take it to Rumble. They'll record it first and put it on Twitter before they'll do any of that. Two billionaires leading off an interview by asking for money. It's like a fucked up joke. Yeah. Who or what is turfing with the broadcast? We cannot hear anyone. Here we go.
All right, hello everyone.
We're in, baby.
With the late start, we unfortunately had a massive distributed denial of service attack against our servers, and saturated all of our data lines. Like basically hundreds of gigabits of data were saturated. We think we've overcome most of that, and so it's now time to proceed. But as this massive attack illustrates, there's a lot of opposition to people just hearing what
almost a million
has to say, and but I'm honored to have this conversation. I want to emphasize it's a conversation, and it's really intended to just.
One quick thing I forgot to tell you: the EU sent a letter saying that if Elon Musk didn't make sure to censor Trump on like shit he might say that might incite violence, that they were going to do something, but I don't know what that something is.
Adversarial interview, like no one's themselves in an adversarial interview. And this is really aimed at kind of open-minded, independent voters who
over a million now
make up their mind, so you can
at least you guys aren't watching it. I'm saving one view.
Just like to have a conversation. So
124 people or something.
Donald, great to speak. We had a great conversation yesterday. As you mentioned yesterday, if we could just record that conversation and post it, it would have been excellent. And I hope we can have something like that today.
Well, I think we will. I'm pretty sure we will. And congratulations, because I see you broke every record in the book with so many millions of people, and it's an honor. We view that as an honor. And then you do want silencing of certain voices. Usually those are voices that have something to say that are constructive, oftentimes constructive. And so we have to consider it an honor. But congratulations on breaking every record in the book tonight. That's great.
Well, thank you. Well, I mean, maybe we could start off with, the assassination attempt, which was an incredible thing. And I have to say that, your actions after that assassination attempt were inspiring. You, instead of shying away from things, instead of ducking down, you were pumping your fist in the air and saying, fight, fight, fight. And I think that...
He dove on the ground. Come on.
I mean, the president of the United States,
as he should,
America,
and he should stay down.
That is America. So dumb. That is strength under fire, and so that's a big part of the reason why I was excited to endorse you as the president.
Still at 1 million.
Having another term here is that was just incredibly inspiring. But I mean, what was it like for you?
Not pleasant. I have to be honest. I said there was blood. I had more blood. I didn't know I had that much blood. The doctors later told me that there's a place that is a very bloody place if you're going to get hit. But in this case, it was probably the best alternative you could even think about, because it went at the right angle, and it was a hard hit. It was very. I guess you would say surreal, but it wasn't surreal. I was telling somebody, you have instances like this, or like a lot less than this, where you feel it's a surreal situation. And I never felt that way. I knew immediately that it was a bullet. I knew immediately that it was at the ear.
Yeah.
And because it hit very hard, but hit the ear.
That's a big mosquito, the biggest mosquitoes.
Bullets, get down, because I moved down pretty nicely, pretty quickly, and we had bullets flying right over my head after I went down, so I'm glad I went down. The bigger miracle was that I was looking in the exact direction of the shooter, and so it hit me at an angle that was far less destructive than any other angle, so that was the miracle. That was... Yeah. For those people that don't believe in God, I think we got to all start thinking about that. You have to.
You don't believe in God, dude.
I'm a believer. Now I'm more of a believer, I think, and a lot of people have said that to me. A lot of great people have said that to me, actually. but it was amazing that I happened to be turned just at that perfect angle. And all because I put down a chart on immigration that showed that the numbers were so great. I love that chart even more now.
Maybe it's a sign. Maybe that's a sign. You know?
It's an immigration sign.
You highlighted a serious issue. And at that moment,
2 millionaires asking 1 million people to donate.
You know, here,
got it.
But you know, most your head. I mean,
the amazing thing is that the sign. I said, bring down that sign on immigration, and it was literally about 1/8 of a second where it would be good, and after that it was going to be a disaster, no matter which way you were facing. But it just had that perfect angle, which was exactly at this shooter. Very sad situation. Such a sad.
Yeah, especially that guy that caught one with his fucking back of his head.
Who, a firefighter, a great
perfect angle,
a great Trumper. He was just a fantastic family and a fantastic man. And a friend of mine came up, Elon, and said, I'd like to give the family some kind of help. And I said, that's great. He said, do you mind? I said, I don't mind at all. And he wrote out a check for $1 million, gave it to the wife. And, you know, she said, this is really nice, but I'd rather have my husband back, which is a nice thing for somebody to say, to be honest. She's great. The family is great. And we raised a lot of money for them and for 2 other are unbelievable people also. They were hit really badly. They thought they were not going to make it, and they did. The doctors in the Butler area, I tell you, they were incredible. They saved the 2, and they were really...
I think what bothers me is that...
Equally.
Elon's a fucking genius.
My first question was because
he sees through a lot of this shit and decides to do it anyways.
People were killed because we had a massive crowd there, a tremendous, thousands and thousands of people, and there was no land. I mean, it was all people. So I said, how many people have been killed? Because I knew there were other shots being fired, and they said, we don't know yet, but some people have been badly hurt. And I have to give the Secret Service sniper, they call him, or sharpshooter, but sniper, because he didn't know there was a problem. He's an extraordinary shot, obviously, and he didn't know there was a problem. And he was able to pick it all out within 5 seconds. And he used 1 bullet from very far away, I guess probably about 400 yards. The shooter was 130, but he was on the opposite side of the field and the podium. And
if Elon wants to keep Twitter going, he's saving Twitter with this, right? The right wing, allowing them to run wild, bringing Trump back. He's saving Twitter with this. All the conspiracies, the Twitter files.
If he didn't do that, Elon, he would have. I mean, if he would have, a lot more people could have been badly hurt and killed. So I have to take my hat off to him, because that's also a surreal. You know, he's been with them for 23 years. And he's never had anything like this. And all of a sudden he has to act. And it's a very tough thing to act and to be shooting somebody. But he saw the gun, saw the smoke, saw the flame from the gun very far away. Obviously has very good eyes. He's got very good vision, which I assume you have to have in that particular work. But he took aim very quickly. And they say it was approximately 5 seconds from long range, 1 bullet. If that didn't happen, because the shooter had a lot of bullets, he had a lot of cartridges up there with him. So,
I mean, that's clearly, he was very confident in taking that shot to stop the attempted assassination. But I mean, there does seem to be, some pretty significant failings elsewhere in the system. Like, there's just no way that, like, how on earth does a shooter get on a roof 130 yards away? That seems crazy. I think most people people are wondering how on earth could such a thing happen.
Well, you know, I view it as 2 ways. There should have been nobody on the roof. There were people, because there were so many tens of thousands of people there. There were people that were seeing him. And there was one woman with a red shirt.
Hundreds of thousands.
Trump all over it. And she's screaming, well, that guy's got a gun. You know, you saw it probably. There's a guy up there with a gun.
I mean, it's like
2 years for Cindy B. Thank you very much.
I mean, for my part, and I think probably many members of the public are wondering, how the heck are, basically people wandering by pointing out there's a guy on the roof with a gun.
Yeah.
He said tens of thousands.
And they're seeing it, but somehow it's not being addressed. That does seem crazy.
Well, they're going to learn from this. The communication between the local police, who sort of had an idea, and then ultimately a man lifted himself up to the roof, could barely do it because he was pulling himself up, and
another guy lifted him.
The man with the gun pointed the gun at him. He thought he was probably going to get shot, but he was like pulling himself up, and because of that, he couldn't get to his gun, and he fell down. Actually, very badly hurt his leg, his ankle. I hear very badly, but he fell down.
That's the body cam we see, so I don't know how very badly it is.
There's a guy up there with a gun, and the shooting started very quickly after that. I think it forced the shooter to go maybe quicker. He was supposed to be a very good shot.
Yeah.
My sons, Don and Eric, they can't believe what happened, but they said from 130 yards, a bad shot would hit that target almost every time. They said it's like in golf, sinking a 2-foot putt.
Yeah, it's not a tough shot.
It's not a long shot. The Secret Service person had the long shot. He had a triple the distance actually. So it was a terrible thing. It's hard. I have to say this about the Secret Service. When I went down, and I went down based on, I think, their screaming, but other people also, because people saw this happen. You had so many people. One of the miracles was that nobody ran. I mean, if a gun goes off, the crowd control people showed us this. When guns go off, and it does happen in stadiums at a soccer match or some kind of a match, everybody flees. They call it a stampede, like cattle. But everybody, and a lot of people get killed with those stampedes. We had more people than you'd have at some of these matches or these games, and nobody left. You had a small group behind us in the grandstand, and that was full, and you look at it as it was taking place, and normally they'd be running. They didn't leave. They saw that I was hurt. They saw a lot of blood, and they saw that I went down, and it's almost like they wanted to be with me. Well, out front, you had thousands, tens of thousands of people. As far as the eye could see, you had people in Butler, as far as the eye could see. And
I don't know how long it's going.
A lot of press, too.
It's just open mic right now.
On watching this, it's what makes it so different, because normally things happen that aren't good, but you never have a picture of it. Here we have.
The only thing I'm listening for is he's kind of off the leash here,
but so
he might say something wild.
Things was that you didn't have anybody flee. You didn't have anybody stampede.
Sure.
Nobody. And there were some people behind me. They stood up and they're looking like, I mean, I'll tell you, you want to have them in a foxhole with you. I want to meet some of those people.
What's up, Brian?
Because it's so different from what you heard. But so I was down. But the Secret Service guys, there were bullets flying right over my head. You could hear them go whizzing, and these guys came jumping on top of me, and a young lady, Kate. Would jump. They moved so fast, and let me tell you, that took tremendous courage. Now, there was a lack of coordination. There was, obviously everybody understands that somebody that building should have been covered. And
I mean,
that was
I
a big
think that,
thing.
I mean, looking at the aerial views, that building would be like the #1 spot for a sniper. I mean, it's like if you were to pick, like, what is the favorite place? So if the goal is to assassinate, what's your favorite spot? That building. That building would be #1.
That would have been the spot.
It's like you can ask for a better location. It's like
no, that would have been the spot. You know what people think is when the local policeman, who, by the way, he really he did what he was supposed to do. He couldn't hold on any longer. And then when he got his head just peeking above, this guy standing there with a gun at his head. And when he fell down, again, hurt his ankle very badly, but he was making the calls. But what happened is the firing took place.
Yeah, he doesn't do policies at all. It's drill, baby, drill, energy, inflation. That's it.
The gun. He ran to the site, and he started shooting fast, and maybe that's why he sort of missed. I mean, he got me, but it could have been Could have been a much.
I think if he wasn't a multi-millionaire, he'd probably be an incel.
Your head. So, like, there was it was a very near thing.
It was a miracle. If I hadn't turned my head, I would not be talking to you right now. As much as I like you,
exactly,
I would not. I would not be talking to you.
You'd be talking to me from another realm, perhaps.
Yeah, that's right. We'd be talking from a different place. But it was a very terrible experience. The Butler Hospital, they did such a great job. The doctors were so good. Everybody was so good. There was a mistake. If somebody knew, because people were hearing that, there was just a bad feeling that somebody was around. You know that story now. It's been. And if somebody could have said, because they've oftentimes said, like there'd be a lightning storm or something, because I've done, I think, over 300. I think I did a lot more than that, but we did a lot. And oftentimes they'll say, sir, could you wait 10 minutes, please? Sir, could you wait 20 minutes? There's a storm overhead or lightning or something, right? And that happens often. Yeah. And this would have been a perfect time for that to have happened, but it didn't get coordinated. That was the problem.
Well, it was I think your actions in the heat of fire, and like what I find admirable there was that you can't fake bravery under such circumstances. The courage is instinctual, or it is not. It's not a rehearsed action. And so I just want to say that I think a lot of people admire your courage under fire there. And so
thank you very much. I appreciate it. I didn't think of it. I just wanted to get up, and I wanted to stand up. I wanted to let people
know my shoes.
I felt I was good when they were on top of me, covering me, actually, very much covering me, and very bravely. But I wanted to get up. I said, I want to get up. And they wanted, they have everything there. They wanted stretcher. I didn't like the stretcher. And I knew I was hit in the ear, but I knew I wasn't hit anywhere else. They felt I was hit someplace else because it was such a lot of blood. And they were sure that I was hit someplace else. And they were saying, sir, you were hitting more than the ear. I said, nope. I was hit in the ear. I want to get up. Let me get up. And so I got up, and the crowd didn't know what to think. I mean, this was so many people, and you could see they were confused. They didn't know what to think. And I wanted to let them know I was okay. It was very important for me to let them know that. And they went wild. You've seen the after. They didn't go wild when I got up because they didn't know, was I alive? You really couldn't tell. When I stood up, before the hand, before the fist in the air, they didn't know if I was alive. Nobody did. And when I put the fist up, they were just relieved and happy and thrilled. And
what the fuck is this?
It was pretty amazing. Yeah. It was a terrible thing, but it was
incredibly moving. Yeah. Well, and I mean, speaking of the sort of slide that got you to turn that saved your life, really, was the illegal immigration slide. Right. Maybe this maybe it's worth talking about that.
It was
that slide saved your life.
No, the illegal immigration saved my life. You're right, but it had to be at that exact angle.
I mean, that's a great one. saved by illegal immigration.
The incredible thing, though, when you talk about the odds, you had to be exactly at that angle, but the incredible thing is that the chart, I used it less than 20% of the time. It was just a moment. Yeah. It's always on my left, never my right, and it's always at the end of the speech. So here we have it. It's on the right, not the left. It's at the beginning, not the end. And even the people that put it up, they were.
I don't even know.
They did a great job. They got it up immediately, fortunately. But I looked to the right, and the bullet.
Yeah, Twitter Spaces.
Whizzing by, hitting my ear.
Audio only.
It's amazing, but when you think of the odds of that, and normally you wouldn't use it. Normally I wouldn't have the thing, and then
it looks like a professional, like a magazine spread. To be honest with you,
I
still weird.
Of God, it's a miracle that it happened, and I'm honored by it. I'm honored by it.
Well, what were you about to say about illegal immigration before you were rudely interrupted?
Well, I was going to say how good the numbers were. By the way, we're going back to Butler. And we're going to go back in October. We're all.
There's been a second drag photo come out. I'm sure it's for a party or something, but still, they're the people who do all this shit. 1.1 million now.
Like the three that, in the case of Corey killed, and the other two, the families are. I got to know them a little bit, and the families are great. But we're going back to Butler, and I think I'll probably start by saying, as I was saying. Prior to being so horribly interrupted, but
so rudely interrupted by an assassination attempt.
Yeah, it doesn't sound great, but
some people have no manners.
They both sound kind of weird, but Twitter Spaces sucks.
In my last week, we had the best illegal immigration.
That would be funny if they were both AI and they were proving a point.
You've seen the chart; it's become quite a famous chart. But that was the lowest point ever recorded. It was a really. I mean, I was very proud of those numbers. And then you see what happened with these people, Kamala and Joe.
It was at Yale, so it's when he's in college. He's dressed up like a woman with a blonde wig on.
I had all these different policies that was so good. Guys like Tom Homan and Brandon Judd from Border Patrol. These are all people that they've been on television. They said it's the best numbers we've ever had. We had so many different checks. Catch and release in Mexico, not the United. We had catch and release in the United States. We had it in Mexico. We had so many things. We had things where many people come in there, they have contagious diseases. We had everything passed. If you have
almost 2 years. Thank you, Southern Belle.
But we cannot allow you into the country. So we were setting literally records, and all I was doing is showing that, and I use it sometimes, and in this case, I'm glad I used it. I can tell you that. But they were fantastic numbers. But I'm going to sleep with that chart always. I'll be sleeping with that chart. That chart was very important for a lot of reasons.
Well, I mean, would it be accurate to say that you're supportive of legal immigration, but we also need to shut down illegal immigration and especially unvetted illegal immigration, because that's not the same as saying that everyone who's an illegal immigrant is bad. In fact, I think most people who are illegal immigrants are actually good, but you can't tell the difference unless there's a solid vetting of who comes across the border. Does that accurately represent your position?
I say it very simply. They have to come in legally. They have to be checked. Because look, Kamala was the border czar. Now she's denying it. Everything that I do, she's saying she was strong on the border. We're going to be strong. Well, she doesn't have to say it. She could close it up right now. They could do things right now. It's horrible. No tax on tips, and all of a sudden she's making a speech and saying there will be no tax on tips. I said that months ago. And by the way, they had just the opposite. They had not only tax on tips, but they hired 88,000 IRS agents, and many of them were assigned to go get waitresses and caddies and all of this on tips. They have a policy. They had a policy that they were really going to go after you, and were really harassing people horribly. And then all of a sudden, for politics, she says, she comes out with what I said, which I think is terrible. And I think it's also hitting them very hard. These people are fake. Now they're also saying they did a good job on the border. We had the worst numbers in the history of the world, not of our country. There's never been a country in history that has had a catastrophe like this. We've had, I believe, and I think you believe this.
Really? There's been countries fall, right?
I believe it's over 20 million people came into our country, many coming from jails, from prisons, from mental institutions, or a bigger version of that is insane asylums. And many are terrorists. And I'll tell you what, they're coming not just from South America, they're coming from Africa, they're coming from all over the world. They're coming from Asia, they're coming from the Middle East, they're coming from countries that are stupidly and horribly bombing Israel October 7th. They're coming from all over the world. And you look at, it's so sad, October 7th, because it should have never happened. It's so sad when you look at Ukraine. It should have never happened. We have a defective government. These are defective people, and they're not people that should be running it. But where you see it the best is the border, because you have millions of people coming in a month, and then she gets up and she tries to pretend like she's going to do something. She had 3.5 years. And by the way, they have another 5 months that they can do something, but they won't do anything. It's all talk. She's incompetent and he's incompetent. And frankly, I think that she's more incompetent than he is. And that's saying something because he's too good.
Super incompetent.
Yeah. No, I think it is essential to.
Yes, he heard the word asylum seekers, and now he thinks they're coming from insane asylums. That's what he's put together.
And secure elections, too.
You know, absolutely, secure elections, and so it's just essential to have a real border, or we can't function as a country, and our service, our central services are being overwhelmed in a lot of cities, but as we were talking about earlier, I think having a legal immigration process that is smooth and efficient and done well, and I'm speaking as someone who is a legal immigrant. I think like one way to think of it is, who do you want on your team? Who do you want on Team America? And I think we want to just say, okay, we want to let in people who are going to, be great contributors to our society and to our economy, and and who do you want on the team? And it's not to say that. Like in my opinion, actually, I'd say like probably most of the illegal immigrants actually are actually good, hardworking people. That's my opinion. But some are not, and you just have this sort of adverse selection process where, if somebody's, if somebody's like has a career in theft or robbery, I don't understand what
a career robber
to get here, because we're such a target-rich environment. Why aren't more people who have a career in bad things coming here sooner? Because it's a piece of cake to go rob houses in LA or New York compared to other parts of the world, and in a lot of places in America, if you try to stop the person who's robbing you, you'll be arrested.
It's right. I mean, what's happening with crime, and our police are so good, but they're not allowed to do their job. But I have to tell you, Elon, I hate to say it because it's such a downer to say it. I hate to say it. I hate it, but you have a lot of people that just shouldn't be. I think it's a much bigger number than you think. They're allowing, allowing people from their jails. And if you were running one of these countries where they're coming from, you would have had all of them. As an example, Venezuela, their crime is down 72%. They're taking their drug dealers. They're taking, frankly, their prisoners. They're emptying out their prisons. They're taking their criminals, their murderers, their rapists, and they're delivering them into.
That's what Castro did.
Yeah, well, he did on a much smaller scale.
Yeah.
It was a much smaller scale. But this is a massive scale because this is being done worldwide. But here's what's happening: crime all over the world is down, and wait till you see the numbers that we have. This is migrant.
The numbers you have are the numbers.
Yeah. And I saw it today in New York where somebody was knifed with raped the girlfriend of a man that stood there watching in New York in one of the shelters and started pulling out the knives, and bad things happened today. But this is happening every day. These are rough people. These are people that are in jail for murder and all sorts of things, and they're releasing them into our country, and they're telling
U.S. violent and property crimes continue to plunge since the 90s.
So they don't want to come back. But these are rough people.
Yeah.
These are criminals that make our criminals look like nice people. And it's horrible what they're doing. And she's in charge of it because, now she's trying to say she had nothing to do with it. And she's such a liar because she was called the border czar the first day, and it was on the headlines of every newspaper. She's the border czar, and she never even went there. She went to one location which had nothing to do with where the problem is. She went in and out, I guess, because she was getting a lot of pressure, but had nothing to do with the problem is. But she was the border czar, and people can't allow them to get away with their disinformation campaign. Now she's trying to say that she wasn't really involved, and the whole thing is horrible. She was totally in charge. She could have shut the border down without him. He didn't know what he was doing anyway, so he wouldn't have even known what happened.
Violent crime dropped by 15%.
Know the difference.
Murder rate is plunging.
The fact is that she was border czar, but if you don't have to call her that. The fact is, you could just call her. She was in charge.
Murders have fallen 27% the first 3 months of this year.
It's simply not working.
No, it's horrible.
Whether it's a question of intention or competence, either way, we don't have a secure border, and we have people streaming over like it looks like a world war.
When you take okay,
and sometimes you got to sort of wonder.
When you take our populace versus immigrants, and you see who commits the most crimes, it's usually U.S. citizens already here with no connection to immigration whatsoever.
We posted the video like just live. I just flew there one day and just to see, hey, is this made up or real? And I'm just seeing people stream across the border, and I have to say, at least the people that I saw did not look friendly. These are people can look at my video and say, hey, these people look friendly. I don't look super friendly. So
these are people that Elon would not be the same man if he had.
Immigrants are significantly less likely to commit crimes than U.S.-born citizens.
And I know
over 150-year periods
that we don't want in our country. And the caravans are coming in, and they're putting, and who's doing this are the heads of the countries. And you would be doing it, and so would I. And everyone would say, oh, what a terrible thing to say. The fact is, it's brilliant for them because they're taking all of their bad people, really bad people. And I hate to say this, the reason
immigrants are 60% less likely to be incarcerated for any crime than U.S.-born citizens.
People that will kill you.
And 30% less likely than U.S.-born white
people that are non-productive. They are just non-productive. I mean, for whatever reason, they're not workers, or they don't want to work, or whatever. And these countries are getting rid of non-productive people in the caravans in many cases, and they're also getting rid of their murderers and their drug
1.2 million now.
That are really
almost going to hit field numbers.
They're coming into our country at levels that have never been seen before. And I saw an ad just before I got on the air. I'm walking over here, and I saw an ad by Kamala saying how she is going to provide border security. Where has she been for 3.5 years? For 3.5 years.
Yeah, no.
We have 20 million people for this. It's a terrible.
Yeah, I think this, frankly, I think this is a fundamental existential issue for the United States. And if we have another 4 more years of open borders, and it's going to be even worse with another 4 more years, it's going to be even worse than it's been for the past 3.5 years. I'm not sure we've got a country.
You don't have a country left. Elon, if they get in, you will have 50 to 60 million people from all over the world, not South America only. We think of South America, we think of Honduras and El Salvador, Guatemala, and Mexico, the 4. But it's not that. It's everywhere. They're coming in from everywhere. And I had to stay in Mexico.
Yeah, I think this is a super important point. Like people, it's like basically when I went down there, I was like, well, where are people from? It's like almost no one was from Mexico.
No, Mexico less.
It's just the border. It's just the border with Mexico. But the people coming in, it's Earth, the rest of Earth, and America is only about 4 or 5% of the population of Earth. It would only take a few percent of the rest of Earth to overwhelm everything.
We're already overwhelmed, Elon. We're overwhelmed. You had to see the news tonight about New York, and I love that place. And what they're doing to it is horrible. What they're doing to it, and all the courts do is they try and focus on Trump. Okay, let's focus on Trump, who did nothing wrong.
He's known for that,
Elon,
citing
what happened is unbelievable.
Citing crimes that were just committed by someone not white, and then claiming it was from illegal immigrants or from immigrants in general. But I think he thinks that, well, his fans don't care, right? It's a brown person that committed a crime.
Very expensive, to maintain the jails, although they don't do too much maintaining, I can tell you. But they take them out of jails, prisons, they take them out and they bring them to the United States. They deposit them in the United States and say, don't ever come back or you're going to be executed. And they don't want to come back, but they won't come back.
Sure.
But they're coming from Africa, they're coming from Asia, they're coming from the Middle East, they're coming from South America, they're coming from everywhere. And there are a lot of really bad ones.
It's just an everywhere on Earth thing, and it's just not possible for the United States to absorb everyone from Earth or even a few percent of the rest of Earth. It's just not possible. So
well, Elon, we're going to have to finish this up. We're going to have the largest deportation in history of this country, and we have no choice. Otherwise, we're going to have a country. What they've done to our country.
China.
With in Venezuela and in some of these other countries, crime is down 50, 60, 70, 80%. And you would be the same. You would have. Yeah. I'll tell you what. Venezuela has not gotten rid of all of them. They've gotten rid of about 70% of their really bad people. Their jails are about 50% put into the United States. Same with other countries. Sure. Some are 30%, some are at 50%. They're all different. But the bottom line is they're all going to be at 100%. Why wouldn't you put 100% of it? And they're doing it right now while this third-rate phony candidate. Don't forget, I beat Biden. He failed in the debate miserably. And, some people said, oh, gee, it's too bad. It's too bad he did so badly, or I did well in the debate. The first night they said, wow, one of the people at CNN said that was the greatest debate performance I've ever witnessed. And then 2 days later, they didn't talk about that. They just said he was bad. But that's okay. That's the way I get treated, and I don't mind that at all. What I can tell you is this. We cannot have a Democrat. We cannot have her. She's incompetent. She's as bad as Biden in a different... Yeah. Look, she hasn't done an interview since this whole scam started. And say what you want. This was a coup. This was a coup of a president of the United States. He didn't want to leave, and they said, we can do it the nice way, or we can do it the hard way.
Yeah, they just took him out back behind the shed and basically shot him.
What they did with this guy, and I'm no fan of his, and he was a horrible president, the worst president in history. And one of the reasons he was so bad, first of all, the Israeli attack would have never happened. Russia would never have attacked Ukraine, and we'd have no inflation. And we wouldn't have had the Afghanistan mess, if you think of it. And we wouldn't have had Afghanistan. But we think of it, you take a few of those events away, and we have a different world. We would also have inflation was caused by oil.
Yeah. I think you're making an excellent point here, which is that when other countries can, that are thinking about invading or doing bad things, when they're thinking about that, they're thinking about, okay, what's the American president going to do? And do they fear the American president, or is it someone they do not respect and do not fear? And I think they would rightfully be. I mean, but look at the footage of the assassination. They're like, okay, President Trump is like, don't mess with me. I mean, that's like, whereas I think people are not going to be, and they obviously have not been at all intimidated by Biden, and they certainly will not be intimidated by Kamala. And you have to really think of that in the context of global security. That if the American president is someone that, like, evil dictators are scared of, that makes a huge difference to the security of the world.
So I had a good relationship with Putin, despite the Russia hoax that lasted for over 2 years. Just a hoax created by Hillary Clinton and Adam.
All right, we're going to read the Mueller report.
People, just sick people, frankly. I mean, Schiff is a sick person. He's going to end up probably being a senator. It's hard to believe. The whole thing is hard to believe. But, they put our country in danger with that stuff, too. They actually, when they make up stories, and you have to fight your way out of it for a long time. But I know Putin very well. I got along with him very well. He respected me, and it's just one of those things. And we would talk a lot about Ukraine. It was the apple of his eye. But I said, don't ever do it. Don't ever do it. I shut down Nord Stream 2. That was the big oil pipeline, the biggest pipeline in the world going all over Europe. I shut it down. Biden came, and then they say, I loved Russia. I was a friend of Putin, and I loved Russia. No. He actually said to me one time, he said, if you're my friend, I'd hate to see you as an enemy. I shut down his pipeline, the biggest pipeline. They were looking at that to fund. And this pathetic president gets in there, and the first thing he did, one of the early things he did, is he shut down Keystone XL pipeline, which is our pipeline that would have employed 48,000 people, pipeline workers. Shuts it down. That was, a massive job that Obama refused to allow. I allowed it in my first week, because it was jobs and it moved oil. And by the way, in a much more environmentally friendly way. It's underground. It's not a truck that catches on fire or a train that catches on fire. But think of it. He shut down the XL pipeline. the Keystone XL pipeline.
Yeah.
He shuts that down, and he approves the Russian pipeline.
Yeah, it doesn't make any
Right?
sense. It's inconsistent. Certainly but I mean, I think it's just worth emphasizing to listeners the immense importance of whether the United States president is intimidating or not intimidating, and how much that matters to global security. Because there's some real tough characters out there, and if they don't think the American president is tough, they will do what they want to do.
I know every one of them.
And
But then we bombed that pipeline, so.
I know every one of them, and I know them well. I know Putin,
Yeah.
I know President Xi, I know Kim Jong-un of North Korea. I know every one of them. And let me tell you, people will say, oh, this is terrible. He said, I'm not saying anything good or bad. They're at the top of their game. They're tough, they're smart, they're vicious, and they're going to protect their country, whether they love their country. They probably do. It's just a different form of love, but they're going to protect their country. But these are tough people at the top of their game. And when they see a Kamala or when they see Biden, Sleepy Joe, they can't even believe it. They can't believe this happened. All the stuff that you're seeing now, all the horror that you look at Israel, they're all waiting for an attack from Iran. Iran would not be attacking, believe me. When I was there, and I say it with respect, because I think we would have been good with Iran. I don't want to do anything bad to Iran, but they knew not to mess around. Iran was broke because I told China, if you buy from Iran oil, it's all about the oil. That's where the money is. But if you buy oil from Iran, you're not going to do any business with the United States.
Okay.
And I meant it. And they said, we'll pass.
Yeah.
They didn't buy oil. Other countries, likewise.
Sure.
You want to buy, you're not doing business with the United States. And they were at a point where they had no money for Hamas. They had no money for Hezbollah. They had no money for any of these instruments of terror. And it was amazing. In fact, there were articles when I was leaving, which is hard to believe, actually.
Oh, I'm sure. Big sniff.
Our country is so bad right now. It's such a different place. We were respected. Think of it. 4 years ago, we were so respected to a point where when I said don't buy oil, they didn't buy oil, but they had no money, and Israel would have never been attacked. Zero chance. And again, I said to Vladimir Putin, I said, don't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. You do it, it's going to be a bad day. You cannot do it. And I told him things that what I do, and he said, no way. And I said, way. And it's the last time we ever had the conversation. He would never have done. I got along well with him. I hope to get along well with him.
By the way,
getting along.
Even if
well
Trump
with
comes
them
back
is
into
a good
office,
thing,
the
not a bad thing.
Keystone XL expansion, the Keystone pipeline's there. It's been there. The XL expansion has been abandoned completely.
It's a sort of a ritual.
By the contractors.
It was supposed to be for a very short period of time. It turned out to be a long period of time. I said, what's the biggest problem? He said, North Korea. I had that problem worked out very quickly. It was nasty at the beginning with Rocket Man and, all the different things.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden I got a call.
Those were some epic tweets, by the way.
Yeah, they were epic everything. He said that he has a red button on his desk. I said, I have a red button on my desk too, but my red button is much bigger and my red button works. And then I called him Little Rocket Man of Little Rocket Man. Anyway, here's the bottom line. All of a sudden I got a call from him. And they said they want to meet. They want to meet me. And we met, as you remember, we met in Singapore. We met also in Vietnam. And I got along with them great. We were in no danger. But President Obama thought we were going to end up in a war, a nuclear war with him. And let me tell you, he's got a lot of nuclear stuff, too.
Exactly.
He's got plenty of nuclear. He can do plenty of damage.
It's because people like Kim Jong-un, they respond to strength, not weakness.
Well, he and I had a good relationship. Remember I met him and we walked onto his land. Nobody ever walked onto his land before. I walked onto. I wouldn't say. Let's bring up Secret Service again. I wouldn't say they were thrilled when I did that. I walked onto his land, and it was an.
You saluted his generals. We remember.
We were not in danger with him because of me. I always say that we have enemies on the outside and we have enemies on the inside. We have some really bad people in our government and people that are controlling of the people. I mean, I'd mention names, but I really don't want to give them the credit.
You guys know that if the Keystone pipeline, the Keystone XL expansion would have went through, it was tar sands, right? Old tar sand. So it's like the dirtiest form of oil you can get. And something like, I think it was 90% of that was for export overseas. It wasn't even for gas in the United States. But people claim that that's what caused the gas prices.
Let Russia and China align. But then they also got, if you take a look, Iran, and they have North Korea. That's, they call it the axis of evil. In the old days, you had the axis of evil. Here we have a modern day axis of evil. These are powerful countries, very heavy nuclear, which is the biggest.
When you see those oil spills, that's like nasty ass fucking goo shit, like black goo. That's tar sands oil. It comes from Canada, and it's super nasty, especially when they have a spill. It's bad.
Because we have 5 countries now that have significant nuclear power. And we have to not allow anything to happen with stupid people like Biden. Biden did something with Russia. There was no chance of him ever going in. And when I left, and then after I left, they started forming big armies on the border with Ukraine, right? And I looked at that, and I thought he was doing that because Putin's a good negotiator. I thought he was doing that to negotiate. But then Biden started saying such stupid things. For instance, he said that it can be a NATO country. Now, Russia, for as long as there's been NATO, has said we're never going to agree to that. And we go right up front and say that. And we did things and said things through this president with a low IQ, very low IQ. He had a low IQ 30 years ago, by the way, but now he might not even have a IQ at all.
Okay.
There's nothing on the board that goes this low. He said things that were so stupid that war had zero chance of happening if I were there. Zero chance. He was saying everything the opposite. And it's so sad because many more people have been killed in Ukraine than you read about. You don't read about how bloody it is and how disastrous.
Sure.
Hey, look, just in the 2 armies, you lost 500,000 people. And Ukraine's having a hard time. Ukraine, I don't know if you saw the article recently, and it's true. You don't hear the true story. But if you think about it,
both the Obama and Trump administration did reviews on whether the Keystone XL pipeline would lower gas prices in the U.S., and both of them came back as no. It would not lower gas prices in the U.S.
Young men,
but they claim it did.
To fight. And we're in a very bad position, and I'm not going to blame exclusively, but I can tell you I could have stopped that, and a smart president could have stopped that. It wouldn't have happened. But we had a man that actually made it more prevalent. It was so bad, the words that he was using, the stupid threats coming from a stupid face that he was using. I said, this guy's going to cause us a war. He's going to cause us. And let me tell you, it can lead to World War III. That can lead to World War III. The Middle East can lead to. We have numerous places that could end up in a World War III right now for no reason.
Statler and Waldorf, that's a Legend's profile picture, isn't it?
The risk of,
is Legend still here?
And it's just, when you're looking at the risk of global thermonuclear warfare, it's game over for humanity. And, it's something that people have, I think, after the end of the Cold War, people have become complacent about, but they actually have forgotten that there are currently a lot of nuclear missiles that have targeting parameters for the United States from 100%. Other countries.
And one of the things we're going to do is we're going to build an Iron Dome over us. Israel has it. We're going to have the best Iron Dome in the world. We need it, and we're going to make it all in the United States. But we're going to have protection, because it just takes one maniac to start something. We're going to have protection, and we're going to have. Why shouldn't we have an Iron Dome? Israel has one. Some other places have one that nobody even knows about, frankly. But Israel.
Why would we not have an Iron Dome, chat?
With all of that being said, to me,
he has no idea how any of this works.
But with all of that being said,
I wish I could fucking pause this. This goddamn retard.
About the economy and the fact that they can't buy groceries because they don't have enough money to buy groceries. The inflation has killed them. Food prices are up 50, 60, even 100% in some.
We have missile defense, right?
Stupid.
We don't have countries close to us that are just lobbing rockets at us.
And that's the thing that people most care about.
We have to worry about ICBMs.
And we discussed
We have
at great length.
overlaid,
Nice to have
overlapped,
this
strategic missile defense.
at length. And by the way, you think Biden could do this?
Good enough. No one's ever fucking tested it.
Could do this interview? They would take a pass
No,
on you.
they could not.
So they don't need Elon. They don't need Elon screaming out questions.
We're not the same as Israel, surrounded by hostile countries. They just lob shit over the border.
For a living, can't answer a question, or is
That's what the Iron Dome's good for.
And in her case, with a very friendly interview, she's got all friendly interviewers. It's pretty.
Yes, absolutely.
But the big thing now is the economy, Elon.
Yeah.
And as much as
Yeah.
I mean, I view nuclear as the single most important thing, but a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't understand that. But it doesn't have to. If I understand it, that's all you need. Because if I was president, you're not going to have that kind of a problem. But the thing that they really is making them angry is what Kamala and Biden have allowed to happen to the economy. It's a disaster with inflation. The inflation, it doesn't matter what you make. The inflation is eating you alive. If you're a worker or if you're just a middle-income person, you can't afford. 4 years ago, 5 years ago, people were saving a lot of money. Today, they're using all their money and borrowing money just to live. It's a horrible thing that's happening. And we'll end that quickly.
Well, I think a lot of, a lot of people just don't understand where inflation comes from.
I'm going to add some notes. We're going to talk about the Keystone Pipeline.
Because the checks never bounce when it's written by the government. So if the government spends far more than it brings in, that increases the money supply. And if the money supply increases faster than the rate of goods and services, that's inflation. So really, we need to have we need to reduce our government spending, and we need to re-examine. I think we need like a government efficiency commission to say like, hey, where are we spending money that's sensible? Where is it not sensible? And we need to live within our means. We're currently adding, I think, $1 trillion to the deficit roughly every 100 days.
That's right.
And the interest payments on the national debt have now exceeded the defense budget. It's on the order of $1 trillion.
It's interest,
and it keeps growing.
I rebuilt our military, largely rebuilt our military. Did a great job on it, which was so important. We had jets, we had fighters that were, and bombers that were 70 years old, and we did a great job in that. Then we gave 85 billion of it back to Afghanistan, if you can believe it. We gave them 85 billion. They're one of the largest sellers of military equipment in the world. They're selling what we gave them. That was one of the most embarrassing days in the history of our country. But if you think about, let's go back to we
gave them their money back.
Economy. We have to bring energy prices down. Energy started at the price of gasoline. Now, your cars don't require too much gasoline, so you have a good, and you do make a great product, I have to say. I have to be honest with you. That doesn't mean everybody should have an electric car, but these are minor details. But your product is incredible. But the gasoline, Elon, is the cost of energy. Not only gasoline, it's the cost of heating your house and cooling your house. That has to come down. It's gone up 100%, 150, and 200%, and that has to come down. When that comes down, and we're going to drill, baby, drill. They stopped drilling, and then they went back to drilling because they went back to the Trump policy. But if they won the day after they get into office, this country will go out of business because they're going to go to an energy policy that's not sustainable. Wind and different things. You're not going to have anything. Yeah. And I know you're a big fan of the AI, and I have to say that AI, and this is shocking to me, but AI requires twice the energy that the country already produces for everything. So you're going to have to build. We're going to have to build a lot.
You can't let him lie like this.
Our country will be competitive with China because that's our primary.
You can't let him say a blanket statement. AI takes twice the energy that we produce.
Electricity, like almost double what we produce now for the whole country, if you can believe it.
Sure. Well, just going, back to this, this basic thing, which that people try to make it sound complicated, but it's not. But inflation is caused by government overspending. Right. Would you agree that we need to take a look at government spending and have perhaps a government efficiency commission that just tries to make the spending sensible and so the country lives within its means, just like a person
The
does?
waste is incredible, and it's nobody negotiates prices. You used to have a lot of people make
Wrong.
checks, and you end up with two companies.
We negotiate prices on everything.
Merge at some point. I mean, I went through it. Like Air Force.
We'll talk about the
Air Force One
$500 hammer.
Sign a general walks and, sir, would you please sign this document? And what is it? Air Force One. That's with Boeing, which is basically two planes, two 747s. And the price was $5.7 billion.
1.3 million watching now, by the way.
Now, they're highly sophisticated.
That's insane.
They're even nicer than your plane, okay? But much more sophisticated. They're very, I won't say what's on it, but they got a lot of stuff on it. Anyway, but it's 5.7.
You don't know.
That's a crazy number.
It's a crazy number, but I said, I'm not going to pay 5.7. I'm not going to do it. I said, who made the deal? Obama and his people. I said, well, then I know the deal's no good. I'm not going to do it. And over a course of about 4 weeks, by my saying I'm not going to do it, I got the price reduced by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane, other than we had a nicer paint job, if you want to know the truth. But for the exact same plane, I saved one. And I said to Boeing, man, you guys must make a lot of money if you can reduce the price by that. But now what I do hear is that they're going back to the Biden administration and wanting big cost overruns, because they see these dopey suckers in there, and they'll end up getting some of the money back. But I shaved it by $1.6 billion for the exact same plane. And you can now take that and multiply that out times thousands of other items.
Multiply it by a
the
zillion.
numbers are astronomical. I agree with you.
Well, I mean, I think it would be great to just have a government efficiency commission that takes a look at these things and just ensures that the taxpayer money, the taxpayers' hard-earned money, is spent.
No one spent money as president like Trump spent money as president.
You're the greatest cutter. I mean, I look at what you do. You walk in and you just say, you want to quit? They go on strike. I won't mention the name of the company, but they go on strike, and you say, that's okay, you're all gone. You're all gone. So every one of you is gone, and you are the greatest. You would be very good. Oh, you would love it. But, if you look at Argentina.
Well, I'd be happy to help
by the way, congratulations. I just looked at
even before the pandemic, Trump had record-setting
congratulations.
deficit spending.
I mean, it's great.
Before the pandemic.
And you're an interesting character. The new head of a place called Argentina, and he's a big, he's great. And he's a big MAGA fan, that he ran on MAGA. And he took it to an extreme, too. He ran on MAGA, and I hear he's doing really a terrific job. It's called Make Argentina Great Again. It worked out perfectly.
I just got such a bad fucking leg cramp, dude.
But
holy shit.
He really cut. And I'm hearing they're starting to do pretty well. Inflation's getting down. They had like 2,000%. And they had inflation like not normal inflation. They had the real deal. But we're going to have that pretty soon. I think we have the worst inflation we've had in 100 years. They say it's 48 years. I don't believe it. I think we have the worst. They don't include a lot of the items that should be included,
Yeah, well, it's just from government overspending and not spending taxpayer money effectively, and having.
I'm afraid to even sit back down.
Like so many departments, you can't even name them all. And what Milei is doing is.
I was weed eating all day today, but I drank a shit ton of water and Gatorade. I even ate a banana this morning, which is unusual.
And Argentina overnight is experiencing a giant improvement in prosperity. But it's also a lesson for the United States, which is that Argentina used to be one of the most prosperous countries in the world. In the 30s, 40s, and because of bad government policy, it ruined the country. And if you take Venezuela, for example, Venezuela should be incredibly prosperous. They have,
I'll be right back. Keep listening.
Reserves of everything, oil, everything. And it should be prosperous, but if the government's wrong, it impoverishes the people. And so I think we should not be complacent in the United States in thinking that and taking our prosperity for granted, because if...
Never mind. I'm not going anywhere. My cooler is supposed to be here today. Now it says tomorrow. Fuck.
That's just something people should bear in mind. Don't take prosperity for granted.
Well, think of education.
I got too many Chrome tabs open.
Of every list of the top 40, we're ranked number 40, number 38. Norway, Switzerland, Sweden, different countries are ranked good. Actually, China's pretty close to the top. They're a top 6 or 7, but we're ranked at the bottom, almost at the bottom, 38, 39, 40. In other words, horrible. And yet we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world. So we spend more. And what I'm going to do, one of the first acts, and this is where I need an Elon Musk. I need somebody that has a lot of strength and courage and smarts.
There it is, the cabinet position, right?
Back to the states, where states like Iowa, where states like Idaho, not every state will do great, because states that basically aren't doing good now. You look at Gavin Newsom, the governor of California.
Newsom?
He's terrible.
Gavin Newsom?
So he's not going to do great with education. But of the 50, I would bet that 35 would do great. And 15 of them, or 20 of them, will be as good as Norway. Norway is considered great. You can name them. I mean, they're so good. Some of these countries are so good. But if you go into some of these really well-run states, we have states that don't know what debt is. We have states that have low taxes, no debt, everybody working. They're really well-run. Sure. And maybe they have certain advantages in terms of location, in terms of, the land or the sun and the water and the whole thing. There are a lot of advantages that some people have. But if you moved education back to the 50, you'll have some that won't do well, but they'll actually be forced to do better, because it'll be a pretty bad situation. But if you think about it, you'll have some of these states. I'll bet you'd have 30, 35 states. It'll be much better. And you know what it'll cost? Less than half what it is in Washington. And
it's always double or half, or
faraway states, and it'd be unbelievable.
Yeah, I think you're making a good point in that if the states have to if each state has to compete against other states, then people will naturally move to states where it's better.
Well, like California, as we said, it's a badly run state. I could go through. I got so many friends that are in those states, even if they're Democrats. I hate to mention certain states, but Illinois is badly run with Pritzker. He's a real loser. But some of these places are just badly run. But it's almost going to force them to run better, and they won't do a good initially. But you're not going to do worse than you're doing right now. And I would say that the cost, you would cut your cost by 50 or 60%. And you'd have a little monitor. You want to make sure they're teaching English, as an example. Give us a little English, right?
Sure. Right. Yeah. No, but I mean, to what? I mean, some of these governors are doing so badly. I mean, they got so many people moving out of their state. They should get U-Haul Salesman of the Year award because they're driving so much U-Haul.
It's actually amazing.
It's just people moving out.
Isn't it amazing to you as a businessman that they can even survive? Like Illinois. So many people are leaving, and you wonder, how do they survive? I mean, how do they survive? I saw where you left California, and you moved to Texas. Texas does a great job. But,
a very wet kiss.
How do these states survive?
A heavy, wet
when big
kiss.
Businesses, a big oil company.
This has got to be frozen.
And they move to Texas. How do these big states survive when they lose so many businesses? And their taxes are already really high. The taxes are among the highest taxes. You almost wonder, how do they continue on? And in many cases, the governors don't do a good job, and they're crime-ridden places. You wonder, how do they continue to just go on? It's not a good situation.
I mean, I think the only thing that's going to force some of these states to change is if they risk bankruptcy and they're not getting bailed out by the federal government.
Right. Well.
That's the only thing that's going to get them changed.
You remember the area in California where they had that, where I guess somebody had sticky fingers and they stole a lot of money, and they went into a form of chapter, and it was very nasty for a period of time. But now it's probably the most popular place in all of California. So at some point, something like that may have to happen. But the problem is, you can't penalize people that loan money to the state when you have incompetent people like a Pritzker. Look, the family didn't want him in the family business, and then he ends up being governor of Illinois. So what is he going to be? Is he going to be a great governor? And you have people. I could name every one of them. I got to know everyone.
Would you guys rather listen to Trump and Elon, or I got a brand new trimmer for my ball sack? Would you rather hear about that? I could do a live review.
About the economy, a lot of people concerned about inflation, and inflation is effectively a tax on people that save money, and for people that are working day to day, it's just a form of taxation, and if
rechargeable
solve the government spending problem, we'll solve the inflation problem, which means people will have a better standard of living, and that's a really big deal.
Well, the people that got hurt worse are the people that did it the way they were taught to do it all through, you know, their younger life and their young life and their whole life. The people
blue,
that saved
waterproof,
money, and then they got no interest on them.
Rechargeable USB-C.
Destroyed them. And frankly,
pretty sweet.
Better off if they didn't do anything like that. I mean, those people have been absolutely decimated.
I'll send you a picture, Cindy.
Bring those people back and help those people.
It looks a lot like my head. If you can just imagine my bald head, you're just looking at two of those.
5 times more than it did a few years ago. When you look at some of the food products in grocery stores, people go, they can't believe it. They used to be able to buy a whole cart, and today, you know, a lot of people just don't have the money.
I shaved my head today too.
Buy anything. They look at
not the same trimmer.
They call it sticker shock, right?
I think it really just comes, like I said, I think it just comes down to really, I guess, two things, which is that if you solve government overspending, you solve inflation, which improves living standards of the average person, and then if you deregulate, like have sensible regulations, so because a lot of the regulations are nonsensical and cause the cost to be extreme for no reason.
The regulations hinder corporations.
Like
that's true.
Great job on deregulation in the 80s, but it's been 40 years since we.
But it protects you, the citizen.
I mean, during your administration, we made some progress, but I think
if a company comes into your town and just starts polluting your fucking drinking water, are you going to be able to stop them? Are you going to be able to stop that company? A company with 3,000 locations and billions of dollars. Are you going to be able to stop them? That's what sometimes there's overregulation. I agree. But there needs to be, we can't cut them all. There needs to be some.
And we did radical cuts on all of that, and a lot of that's being put back by this administration. And we did radical cuts on things that were.
God damn it, Mariah, you're going to dull it.
We were all set. You know, we had the best economy ever, maybe in the world. And then what happened is COVID came in, and we had
I tested it on my happy trail.
You knew what it was. And I always say I got good marks on economy, good marks on military. We knocked out ISIS. We did so many different things. We rebuilt. But, you know, I never got the credit that we really deserved on what we did with COVID. We never got the credit. But we were, had that.
I don't own a beard trimmer. I don't know what you're talking about.
Wuhan, came in from Wuhan, the Wuhan labs, and I always said it, and it turned out to be right.
Does this look like a trimmed beard?
Had that not happened, we were set to start reducing debt. We were going to reduce taxes further. I gave the largest tax cuts, and we were going to reduce taxes still further for middle-income people, not only businesses. But we did it for businesses because they're the ones that's why we had the great job numbers. But we were set to really start reducing debt. And, you know, we're sitting on the biggest pile of liquid gold anywhere in the world, bigger than Saudi Arabia, bigger than Russia.
We're drilling more than any country in the world.
Supply Europe with oil. I had stopped the Russian pipeline, and we were going to supply them with oil and gas. We were going to,
if anything,
make a fortune.
Okay, then, let's be honest here.
The COVID.
If anything, Biden stopped the Russian pipeline more than Trump did. Put a fucking bomb in it.
Businesses alive. If I didn't do what we did, we would have had a 1929 type depression. But the problem is when Biden came in,
what would be the joke? You literally sit on my face. What is the joke? I've seen your butthole from the inside.
You know, during his administration, many more people died during his administration of COVID than during my administration, and we really got the brunt of it. But people don't realize more people died during his administration than ours. But it diverted us from doing what I wanted to do. But we had the greatest for, you know, almost 3 years. We had the great, and you know that probably better than anybody. So many of your friends said to me, the best years we've ever had in business were during the Trump years. And also said that African American, Hispanic American were so incredible. They were having the best Asian American women, men, young people without a diploma, young people that graduated from the best colleges, from MIT, from the Wharton School, from all of the great colleges, Harvard. They were doing better, and people without a diploma were doing better, and everybody was happy. And then COVID came, and we had the problem is they spent trillions and trillions of dollars. They wasted. They shouldn't have taken any money, and we wouldn't be having inflation right now, which is killing our country.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I should probably say something about, like, maybe my views on, climate change and oil and gas, because I think I'm probably different from what most people would assume, because my views are actually pretty, I think, moderate in this regard, which is that I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry and the people that have worked very hard in those industries to provide the necessary energy to support the economy. And if we were to stop using oil and gas right now, we would all be starving and the economy would collapse. So it's, I don't think it's right to sort of vilify the oil and gas industry.
We'll talk about it in a second. Hold on.
And the world has a certain demand for oil and gas, and it's probably better if the United States provides that than some other countries. Sure. And it would help with prosperity in the U.S. And at the same time, obviously, my view is like we do over time want to move to a sustainable energy economy, because eventually you do run out of. I mean, you run out of oil and gas. It's not there for. It's not infinite. And there is some risk. I think the risk is not as high as a lot of people say it is with respect to global warming. But I think if you just keep increasing the parts per million in the atmosphere long enough, eventually it actually simply gets uncomfortable to breathe. People don't realize this. If you go past 1,000 parts per million of CO2, you start getting headaches and nausea. And so we're now in the sort of 400 range. We're adding, I think, about.
No one has taken responsibility for the explosion, but we can talk about it. There's been a lot more information come out since we last talked about it.
But so there's not like we don't need to rush, and we don't need to stop farmers from farming or prevent people from having steaks or basic stuff like that. Like you can leave the farmers alone.
I agree. How crazy is that? Where I mean, you have farmers that are not allowed to farm anymore and have to get rid of their cattle, and the whole world is a little crazy. But it's largely taken its lead from us. I do say, though, I've heard in terms of the fossil fuel, because even to create your electric car and create the electricity needed for the electric car, fossil fuel is what really creates that at the generating plants. And, so you sort of can't get away from it at this moment. I mean, someday you might be able to. But I do hear we have anywhere from 100 to 500 years left. Much of it hasn't even been found yet. Yeah. But there are tremendous, like Anwar. I got Anwar in Alaska approved. Ronald Reagan couldn't do it. Nobody could do it. Everybody tried. Nobody could do it. I got it approved. The first thing that Biden did was unimprove it, to get rid of it. He ended it. His secretary went in and she ended it. And what a disgrace. That's Anwar. That's bigger, or they think it could be bigger than Saudi Arabia in Alaska. Could be bigger than Saudi Arabia. But they went in and they terminated it. And I'll get it going very quickly, because not only is it big for Alaska, I mean, you talk about economic development, that for the United States, I mean, that is, they say bigger than Saudi Arabia or the same size, and pure, really good stuff. And, they end it. So I think we have, perhaps hundreds of years left. Nobody really knows. But during that time, something will come around that will be very good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my estimate would be, a little more aggressive than that. But it's not the sort of like we're all going to die in 5 years stuff. That's obviously BS. But I mean, my view.
The Anwar is that the Alaskan wildlife refuge that he started drilling in
of CO2. I mean, I think some of that it's problematic if it accelerates if you start.
Arctic National Wildlife Refuge.
And then there may be some
in Alaska is what he's talking about. Anwar.
You get just a step change increase in the CO2. And
Stage Bosch.
We don't want to get.
This is his sign that he does talk to Kim Kukic.
That's actually makes it uncomfortable to breathe. Like just existing in 1,000 ppm CO2 is uncomfortable. That's like that's considered like an industrial hazard,
right?
Just so it's that's actually you start getting headaches and stuff. So it's even without global warming, it's not comfortable to live. So you don't want to get too close to that. But I mean, I think we've got. I think we want to just move over, and if I don't know, 50 to 100 years from now, we're I don't know, mostly sustainable. I think that'll probably be okay. So it's not like the house is on fire immediately, but I think it is something we need to move towards. And on balance, it's probably better to move.
What he's talking about right now is the average parts per million of CO2. Now, again, they don't think global warming's happening, right? Here is from 1960 till 2020, the average CO2 parts per million on Earth. 1960 here, 2020 behind the chat. Wait, no, you can see 2020 just over my shoulder. This is the parts per million of CO2 in the atmosphere. For the whole year. This is the seasonal average because it goes up and down through the year. But if you take the average of it, here it is. It's going off the fucking chart. We're above 400 now. Out of thousands when you start getting headaches and passing out and shit. Oh, I'll turn it back up. Hold on.
Environmentalism, that caring about the environment should mean that you have to suffer. So we make sure that our cars are beautiful, that they drive well, that they're fast, they're sexy. I mean, they're cool. In fact, literally, I mean, the sexy joke, Model S, Model 3, Model X and Y spells out sexy. It's probably the most expensive joke out there. But I don't know, I like cheesy humor, So, but I'm a big fan of let's have an inspiring future, and let's work towards a better future, and we can do so without demonizing people.
Right. I'm okay. It's very interesting. You use the word global warming, and today they use the word climate change because you have some places that go up and stuff. So they were getting themselves in a little trouble with the word global warming because not every place is warming. Some places are going the opposite direction. But I'm sort of waiting for you to come up with solar panels on the roofs of your cars and on the trunks of the cars, and it just seems like something that at some point you will come up with, I'm sure.
Are you under the impression that there's a net positive CO2 production from trees?
On certain surfaces might be good.
Yeah.
At least in certain areas of the country where you have the world,
sure,
where you have the sun. But I would think, and I have no idea because that's not my world, but I would think that this would be something that would be interesting. But the one thing that I don't understand is that people talk about global warming or they talk about climate change, but they never talk about nuclear warming. And to me, that's an immediate problem. Because you have, as I said, 5 countries where you have major nuclear, and probably some others are getting there, and that's very dangerous. That's where you need a strong American president, because you don't want to have this proliferation. But you have 5 countries and getting more. China is much less than us right now, but they're going to catch us sooner than people think. They're way lower. Russia and us are number 1, and we're sort of tied. And China is far behind, but they're developing at a level that, you're not surprised to hear very fast. They'll end up catching up, maybe even surpassing. But to me, the biggest problem is not climate change. It's not, and everything's, a problem.
Yeah, we should, I don't think.
The problem is the nuclear.
We should be taking steps that way to say, hey, we need to reduce.
And when I talk about
we need to reduce these greenhouse gases the best way we can. I don't think we should shut down or live in rolling blackouts or nothing, but we should be working pretty hard that way and using our diplomatic pressure to influence other countries to do that as well.
That nobody's ever seen before.
Yeah, and actually, there's the bad side of nuclear, which is a nuclear war, very bad side. But there's also, I think, nuclear electricity generation is underrated.
You're right.
And it's actually, people have this fear of nuclear nuclear electricity generation, but it's actually one of the safest forms of electricity generation. It's just a huge misunderstanding. And if you look at the injuries and deaths, caused by, say, I mean, I'm not going to try to pick on coal mining, but just any kind of mining operation. Right. There's a certain number of injuries and deaths per year. You compare that to nuclear. Nuclear is actually way better. So it's underrated as an electricity source, and I think it's something that's worth reconsidering. But there's so much regulation that people can't get it done. So that,
maybe they'll have to change the name. The name is just, it's a rough name. There are some areas like when you see what happened in
bad branding.
Right, we'll have to rebrand it. We'll have to give it a good name. We'll name it after you or something.
There we go.
No, it has a branding problem. When you see what happened.
It does have a branding problem.
When you see what happened in Japan, where they say you won't be able to go on the land for about 3,000 years. Did you ever see that? And in Russia, where they had the problem, where they, there's a lot of bad things happened, and they have a problem. And they say that in 2,000 years, people will start to occupy the land again. You realize it's pretty bad.
No, that's not true.
But you're right about it. It's amazing.
It's actually not that bad. So like after Fukushima happened in Japan, people were asking me in California, are we worried about like a nuclear cloud coming from Japan? I'm like, no, that's crazy. It's not even dangerous in Fukushima. I actually flew there and ate locally grown vegetables on TV to prove it. And I donated a solar water treatment, a solar powered system for a water treatment plant. And
but you haven't been feeling so well lately, and I'm worried about it.
No, but I mean,
I'm only kidding.
It's fine. It's like.
Chernobyl is what he's trying to say.
We're bombed, but now they're
right.
Full cities again. So it's really not something that So it's not as scary as people think, basically. But let's see. I mean, are there some other topics we should touch on? Like lawfare. I think we need to be concerned about
what they've done to this country.
Obviously,
Yeah. Well, we just won the big case in Florida. This was a Biden administration did something that's never been done in this country, and that's go after their political opponent, me, with this nonsense and just nonsense. And the big case in Florida we won, but they always pick a judge and a jury, and they use local DAs, they use the local attorney generals, like Fani, Fani, spelled F-A-N-I, Fani. And it's all a big hoax, and it's all run from there. Like in Manhattan, one of the top people from the Justice Department went in, ran Manhattan, ran the state. The Letitia James deal was run by a person from the Department of Justice, Biden. They've never done this before, and they set up a very bad precedent. It's called lawfare, warfare. It's a terrible thing, and never happened in our country. It does happen in banana republics and third world countries, but it's never happened. And the incredible thing is it actually drove my numbers up because people see, fortunately I have a platform like you, or, in all fairness, like a conversation like this, where I can talk about it and people understand. I mean, you fight for election integrity and you end up getting indicted because you're fighting for election integrity. And when the day comes that you can't fight for election integrity, you don't have a country anymore. So what happens is they went after their political opponent, me. Now Biden's, close to vegetable stage, in my opinion. Okay, I looked at him today on the beach and I said, why would anybody allow him? The guy could barely walk. Why would anybody allow him? Does he have a political advisor that thinks this looks good? He thinks this looks good because it looks so bad, and it's.
Trump wants to talk about his political advisor.
Doing that for a long time.
Lawfare, warfare, whatever.
It weighs about 3 ounces. It's meant for children and old people to lift, and he can't lift it. The whole thing is crazy.
Well, he's clearly. He's clearly like we just don't have a president. Right
you don't have a president, and she's going to be worse than him because she is a San Francisco liberal who destroyed San Francisco, and then as Attorney General, she destroyed California. You talk about location, and we're talking about the sun and the water and all. There's nothing better than California. She has destroyed that. She was the original DA. She was the original in San Francisco. She was the original Attorney General in California. What she has done to California is Well, you know better than I do.
Donald
You
Trump
just left
donated to get her
California
elected in
for a lot of those
California
reasons.
as the attorney general.
Crime with cashless bail, where you kill.
Oh, if he
somebody.
forgot
I mean,
that.
we have states there. You kill somebody and they let you out right away. I mean, you don't have to even put up, and then they never find the people unless they kill again, and then they let them out again. Our country is becoming a very dangerous place. And she is a radical left San Francisco liberal. And now she's trying to protect. Now she's looking like she wants to be more Trump than Trump, if that's possible. I don't think it's possible. But she wants to be more Trump than Trump.
Yeah.
I want a wall.
I think that's.
She wants to release all the prisoners that are in detention. And some of these guys are really bad.
Right.
That just came out today. She doesn't want to build the wall, even though the walls work. Walls and wheels. You know, in your business, everything you do is obsolete. Almost, well, not the tunnels, but everything is obsolete. Even your rocket ships, they're like a month later, they're obsolete. You find a better way to. The only thing that's not obsolete is a wall and a wheel. And the wall, you know, I built hundreds of miles of wall, and that's why we had such good numbers. I was going to add 200 miles. We bought it. We could have flipped it up in 3 weeks, and they sold it for 5 cents on the dollar. That meant, I said, wow, that means that they actually do want to have open borders. She wants to have open borders, and now she's going like she's tough on the border. It's such a lie.
Yeah, this is simply not true. This is simply not true.
And everybody knows it's not true. It's a disgrace that she can say it.
No, I mean, obviously, what's happening sort of overnight is they're rewriting history and making Kamala sound like a moderate when in fact she is far left, like far left.
Worse than Bernie Sanders. She is considered more liberal by far than Bernie Sanders.
Okay.
She's a radical left lunatic, and if she's going to be our president, very quickly you're not going to have a country anymore, and she'll go back to all.
Have you noticed everything is going to cause us not to have a country anymore?
She believes in
unless it's him doing it.
Zero. You don't. Now all of a sudden she's saying, "No, I will. I really want to see fracking." If they got in, the day she got in, she'll end fracking. And by the way, if people didn't think that, the lunatics that really believe in that, they won't vote for her. You know, like the Palestinians and Israel. She is so anti-Israel, and she's bad for both. Biden actually did something that was impossible. Both sides hate him. You know, both sides. That was a hard thing to do. Unification.
Yeah, no. I mean,
it's crazy.
Who came to give a talk to a joint Senate and House sitting, and I was there, and Kamala stood him up. You know, what does that say?
I think it's highly disrespectful. And I say, if you're a Jewish person or if you believe in Israel, if you're a person that, you know, is very pro-Israel, if you vote for her, it's worse than Biden. And Biden was bad. But if you vote for her, you ought to have your head examined. And you see tonight, I mean, as we're doing this, I'm seeing reports coming that they expect an attack tonight or tomorrow from hundreds and maybe thousands of rockets. You know, their Iron Dome, as they call it, as we all call it, but their shield that they build, that can
They call it, we call it, everybody calls it.
We'll use a term that's appropriate, swamp. But they swamp it by shooting enough missiles. You know this better than anybody. By shooting enough missiles, they can't defend themselves.
You could do this to any system in the world.
That's what some people think they're looking to do. And we have no leadership. There's no respect for the United States of America with these people. And I'm telling you, she'll be worse than him because she's a believer in being radical left, and he wasn't.
I think you're right. I mean, it's important for the public that may be listening to this to look at Kamala's track record, you know, before the last month, and say, is that a track record you agree with? And I think if you're an independent moderate, you definitely would not agree with it, because it is her behavior has been far left, and we're seeing just an overnight propaganda attempt to rewrite history and make it sound like Kamala's moderate when she in fact is not moderate.
Well, her running mate signed into legislation, tampons in boys' bathrooms. Okay. Now, that's all I have.
In all bathrooms.
Tampons in boys' bathrooms. And that means she believes in that, too. I mean, she picked this guy because he was the closest to her. A lot of people thought she'd pick sort of the opposite. but she picked an anti-Israel radical left person, but she is far worse, they say, than Bernie Sanders. If we have her as a president, if we have a Democrat at this moment as a president, I don't think our country can.
You know, like a major portion of Trump's following is literally like anti-Semitic Nazis, right?
Frankly, with the Kamala administration, and that's my honest opinion. And I think really it's essential that you win for the good of the country for this election. And I mean, I'm just stating my opinion. Now, you know,
hell, I'm for making sure Israel is not fucking just killing goddamn civilians.
You know,
anybody.
Disinformation on
any country.
This discussion.
But Israel's been known to kind of go overboard sometimes.
There's a lot of attempts to do censorship and to force censorship, even on Americans from other countries. And, you know, what do you think about that?
Well, I know the European Union very well. They take great advantage of the United States in trade, as you know. We, through a different forum, NATO, we protect them. And yet, if you build a car in the United States, you can't sell it in Europe. You just can't sell it. It's impossible. The same thing with our farmers. Our farmers find it very difficult to do. But,
he's talking to a guy that builds cars in the United States and sells them in Europe, by the way.
Which people don't know. It sounds so nice, the European Union, but let me tell you, they're not as tough as China, but they're bad. And I let them know it. And that's probably why they notified you. No, they don't treat our country well. We defend them, you know, with Ukraine. So we're in for 250 billion, and they're in for about 71 billion, and they have the same size. If you add up the European nations that, you know, in terms of an economy, it's about the same size, when you say, as us. And they're in, and they're in much greater risk. They're right there. We have an ocean separating us from, in this case, the enemy would be Russia. It used to be for the Soviet Union, but let's assume they're close enough. And what happens is
this the way we treat our allies? You're more likely to die. You pay more.
I think even less than that. Billion, but we're in for about 250 billion, and it could be a lot higher than that. And I say, why aren't you going to equalize? Why aren't they paying what we're paying? And they're in much more, you know, it's much more important for them because of the fact that, you know, they're right near there. I mean, they're all sort of in that location. We're not, but they should, and I did it with NATO.
Whoever's closer pays the most.
That were paid up in NATO, out of 28 at the time, and the United States the United States was subsidizing NATO, tremendously subsidizing NATO. And I said, I went in and I said, you got to pay up. If you don't pay up, we're not going to defend you any longer. I took a lot of heat, but you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in. And you know.
I think a lot of the public isn't aware of the fact that the United States pays a disproportionate share of the NATO expenses.
And then we get taken advantage of on trade. So think about it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the point of NATO is defending Europe, and it's, you know, it's like, then, okay, well, why is the United States paying disproportionately more to defend Europe than Europe? That doesn't make sense. That's unfair. And that is an appropriate thing to address.
Well, you know, when you talk about cost cutting and savings and everything else, I mean, honestly, look, there's nobody that feels worse about the Ukraine situation than I do, because I know it would have never happened. I know Zelensky. He was very honorable to me, because when they went with the Russia hoax and they said I had a phone call with him, he said it was a perfect phone call. It was a great phone call. He could have grandstanded and, you know, said, oh, he was very threatening. He said, no, it was a very nice phone call. I called him up to congratulate him on his win, and you end up getting impeached because these people are lunatics. You know, I was talking about the difference from the people within and the enemies.
You said Biden's a real bad guy. Can you find me anything on him?
Within.
Well, you know, you might not get this aid if you don't find something for me.
Then the Russians and the Chinas.
Okay.
If you have a smart president, you're not going to have a problem with them. You're going to do things.
Yeah.
Now, they've taken advantage of us incredibly, but you're going to do things with the right person.
Yeah, well, I think it's obvious that you're a believer and an advocate of free speech, because during your first term as president, you were attacked relentlessly every day, often very unfairly with false attacks, and you didn't try to shut down the media. You didn't try to
Yes, he did.
inhibit the.
He suggested that he should be able to sue the media for writing stories he didn't like,
You and I,
and they should take away their ability to broadcast.
we can get the word out. Although sometimes it's hard because they don't want to print it, you know, like we're having a great conversation right now. Kamala wouldn't have this conversation. She can't because she's not smart. You know, she's not a smart person, by the way. She can't have this conversation. And Biden, we don't even have to talk about it. I mean, he couldn't have this conversation. He would have given up on the first half of a question. He would have walked out. He would have said, where am I? Where am I going? So anyway, but no, he wouldn't have this.
That's true.
Not a lot of people would have this conveation, but you know, we come.
That's true, he says. That's true.
The beauty is,
he would have said, where am I at?
You know, we can have a conversation, and I'm able to get it out without, because I get treated unfairly.
This is a really big point. You can actually have a conversation with you.
Yeah, it's nice, isn't it?
And you can't have a conversation with Biden or Kamala. It's like not.
There's no way that Elon Musk thinks that Trump is smart. There's no fucking way.
Well, but think of it. We need a man or person who's unbelievably sharp in order to stop all the nuclear danger and all the dangers that I'm talking about. And I got along with all these. You know, I got along with Kim Jong-un. We had dinner. We had everything. And he really liked me, and I got along with him really well. By the way, he's the absolute boss over there. You know, a lot of people said, oh, do you think he really...
Yeah, that's for sure.
Then go get Andrew Yang. You can get the fuck out of here, bro. You can get the fuck out of here. Looking for somebody really smart?
And he doesn't like Biden. He considers him a stupid man, he said. He's a stupid man. Well, at least he speaks his mind. But, you know, in this country, you're not sort of allowed to say it, but I guess you are. You should be allowed to say it if it's true. But we need smart people, and we need people that have an ability to lead. And she doesn't have that ability. Can you imagine? Now, you know Chairman Xi very well.
You know when they made fun of Trump because he knew nothing about the rest of the world, like even what countries participated and what things. He couldn't point to countries on a map. He said he would have the best advisors. But now you have to be smart enough to do it on your own. Fuck the advisors.
She looked like the most beautiful actress ever to live. It was a drawing. And actually, she looked very much like our great First Lady, Melania. She didn't look like Camilla. That's right. But of course, she's a beautiful woman, so we'll leave it at that, right?
Yeah, well, you know, maybe it's like I think
Camilla.
You know, people in America want to feel excited and inspired about the future. They want to feel like the future is going to be better than the past. And
he 100% mispronounces her name on purpose.
Greater than we've done in the past. Reach new heights that make you proud to be an American and excited about the future.
They want the American dream back. They want the American dream back. More important than anything else. It's like you don't have that today because the people, they've been just sucked. They see incompetent people running our. You know, the Biden thing is very interesting. People just found him to be incompetent, and when I debated him, I was like, "Is this for real?" It was.
Yeah, it was just absurd. But you know, I think there are like some grand projects that we could do. I mean, I think like. You know, we could build a base on the moon. We could send American astronauts to Mars. We could build high-speed connections that are more advanced.
All businesses Elon owns,
so people have fast transport. It's possible to solve traffic with tunnels.
That's right. Another business Elon owns.
Great progress in Vegas doing that, and. And
he just named 4 businesses he owns, and that's great things that Trump could potentially do.
In Vegas, and I'll tell you, it was amazing. I got to see. I took a big glimpse at it, and it's incredible. It's incredible, and you could do that all over. It's deep.
Yeah.
You don't even need much structure, assuming you're in the right areas.
No, it's straightforward.
It's amazing.
I think we could do some things that like China's got incredible high-speed rail between its cities, but I think it's actually possible with tunnels if with deregulation, with an ability to actually where it's like illegal to actually do the tunnels, then you could have high-speed tunnels that are actually better than anything else in the world for high-speed transport between cities, and that would be something that
Elon's a tunnel fan. Look out, QAnon.
Something that's cooler than anyone else in the world. That's the kind of thing that makes you proud to be an American.
And much safer than surface trains, where there is a danger there. With crazy people. Yeah. much safer, much better. And it's.
You think crazy people can't get in the tunnel?
I find it fascinating, and I've seen the systems and how they work, and the bullet trains they call them, I guess, and they go unbelievably fast, unbelievably comfortable, with no problems. And we don't have anything like that in this country, not even close. And it doesn't make sense that we don't. Doesn't make
I saw that story.
I think also like there's, I'm kind of hopping on the excess regulation, but I think something that I think people can generally understand is that what happens with laws and regulations is that there's more and more of them every year, and unless there's a process to clean them up, eventually everything becomes illegal, and that actually it slows down the development of new technologies. I mean, if you take the sort of like, I think there's room for some reform at the FDA for improving this.
Damn it. Am I going to have to refresh? They're both still talking. I can't hear shit. Fuck.
Speed, but
it's back.
Them on. I don't think they like me too much, but I got things approved in the FDA at numbers that they wouldn't believe. And it's a very bureaucratic group. Actually, it's a fine group of people in many cases. I got to know a lot of them, but I was pushing them really hard for Regenerons, for so many different things that were really pretty amazing. But the FDA takes too long. It's 12 years to get a product approved. I got it down to 4, and I got some things done very quickly. But it's really something that is going to have to be worked on because it takes too long. Just takes too long.
Yeah, all those clinical trials that keep you from dying
in the same
when drugs, and they're still sometimes wrong, right? They still have recalls and shit. Yeah, shorten that shit.
Potentially take months. That improves.
I don't mind experimental. You're on your deathbed, nothing will work for you. Let's try it. But for the general population, bullshit.
Process for
big pharma
rules and regulations, because otherwise they just keep building up every year, and you get like hardening of the arteries, and eventually everything's illegal or takes forever, and then we just ossify as a society. We can't make any progress, and it's a really big deal.
Elon, just getting back to the FDA for 1 second, I got something done called Right to Try. This is where you can go in, and if you're terminally ill, you can use a space age, medicine or whatever it may be. We have the best doctors, the best labs.
Space age.
We really do. But people would go to other countries because you couldn't use the product, even if they thought it worked, because it's going through the FDA. I got it approved where you can, you basically, look, nobody wanted, the doctors didn't want it because of the liability. The country didn't want it, our country, because they didn't want to get.
Congress.
These are people terminally.
Passed
the insurance.
A right to try bill.
Pharmaceutical companies.
Congress.
I got everybody in.
Trump signed it.
And we came up with an agreement.
Congress.
You won't get sued. And also, they didn't want it on their record if somebody's terminally ill and they die after taking.
He also got any company involved in COVID, mask, tests, vaccines. He got them across the board because they were pushing out shit so quick. Across the board, they're not allowed to be sued. So if 10 years from now you get a mask in a lot number that was produced during COVID years, and you get mesothelioma from work because it doesn't fucking work, you still can't sue them.
You're not going to sue the insurance companies, the country. You're not going to sue anybody. And we got it done. And we're saving tens of thousands of lives. Right to try. Hopefully you never need it. But if you do, you don't have to travel to Asia. People, if they had money, they go to Asia, they go to Europe. If they don't have money, they go home and die. That's what happened.
They get put in a coma in Russia, like fucking Jordan Peterson.
Some props here. It's like if a drug is approved in Europe, which has a crazy amount of regulations, it should obviously be approved in the U.S.
Yeah.
I mean, they get more regulations than we do. So why would a drug be approved in Europe and not in the U.S.? That's crazy.
Well, we did it. We did something that really, they've been trying to do it for 50 years, and they just couldn't get it done, and I got it done. And it's really something. But you're right. Some people go to Europe because a drug isn't approved here, but it's approved in Europe. And it's a drug that, generally speaking, would work. It's pretty crazy.
Absolutely.
So you're right.
By the way, the FDA is faster than the EMA, the European Medicines Agency.
Like you make your own decision. That makes sense.
Well, I think just, you know, in sort of...
For example, a study found the FDA approved 170 drugs within 306 days. The EMA approved 144 drugs with a median review time of 383 days.
It's amazing how you can see that right away. How many? What is the number? Wow. What is it?
When Trump says take the vaccine, patriots know he's saying don't take the vaccine.
Wow.
I think in terms of people
that's bigger than you said. You said 25, and you're much more than double that number, 25 million. I think you're going to be 60 or 70, and I guess over a period of time. Hey, I congratulate you. Do I get paid for this or not?
Well, I think actually in terms of the number of people that will hear this conversation over the next few days to weeks,
it's already dropped back down to 1.1 million.
Yeah, that's good. Well, look, it's an honor. Yeah, I just asked this: are you better off now, or were you better off when I was president? Nobody's better off now. People, we put out polls on that, and nobody's better off now. Inflation has killed it. And, they also feel very unsafe. You look at what's going on with a lot of different things. You look at the riots we had at the colleges over, it's ridiculous, but all of the riots, they just feel unsafe. And now they really feel unsafe because you have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. Maybe I'll call it Kamala migrant crime. But
with all these things, I always try to get to the ground truth by just asking people.
67 million interactions is what he's looking at, I guess.
Mom, have any of your friends, been attacked or assaulted? And she said, yeah, 3 of her friends in 3 separate incidents were assaulted just in recent months, just walking around the streets of New York. And I said, well, what happened to the people that assaulted them? Oh, nothing. They got away. They just know
they always get away.
Nothing's going.
What is happening?
They know that.
There you go. God damn it. Twitter Spaces is trash, dude. Trash.
They don't.
It's just obviously messed up.
I need to get where there's a video not on the screen, I think.
And
all right, no video on the screen.
Looks at this and says, what the heck's going on here? This is obviously abuse of the legal system. The legal system is supposed to be protecting the public from violent criminals, and it should be obviously allowing the public to make their own decision about who should be president, as opposed to some legal case.
Once they start this precedent, because this can go on with the next one, it's going after their political opponent, and then you get a judge who's a strong Democrat, and I'm being nice when I say that, in many cases crooked as hell, but you get a judge and you go into an area where a Republican gets 3 or 4% of the vote, and you'll have a jury pool with people that hate Republicans or hate. It could also be the other way, though, because it could start the other way in areas where they hate Democrats. And
yeah, it says like his mouth's full of spit for some reason.
Box is a very dangerous. You get into a Pandora's box. It's a very dangerous thing for this country, and a very dangerous.
The only thing I did different was click off this fucking thing, but that's just where the comments are. There shouldn't be anything different here.
Absolutely.
So,
and I just want to congratulate you. You've done an amazing job. You have definitely got a fertile mind. We can talk. You and I
would suck your dick, Elon.
Well, tunnels. We can talk about tunnels and rockets and electric cars. So many things. And now
What about electric boats, Trump?
Another beauty, I'll say.
What about electric boats? Sharks.
It's an amazing thing you've done, Elon. It's an amazing thing, and I congratulate you.
I mean, thank you. And well, I mean, I just say here, here's to an exciting, inspiring future that people can look forward to and be optimistic and excited about what happens next. And that's the kind of future that I think you will bring as president, and that's why I endorse you.
Well, I appreciate that. That endorsement meant a lot to me. Not all endorsements mean that much, to be honest. Your endorsement meant a lot. And, we have a phrase, make America great again. It's pretty simple, but it really says that we want to make America great again, and we can do it. We can do it now. But if we were going to suffer another 4 years like we've suffered for the last 4 years, I'm not sure the country can ever come back. That's how bad it is. It's so bad. We have to do a lot of things.
I think that's a very real risk.
Yeah, it's a big risk.
That's a very real risk.
Yep.
And it's, I'd just like to note to people listening, like, I've not been very political before, and if you look at my track record, I've actually been, I'm not like, sometimes they try to paint me as like a far right guy, which is absurd, because I'm like making electric vehicles and solar and batteries, helping with the environment, and I actually I supported Obama. I stood in line for 6 hours to shake Obama's hand when he was running for president, and so it's not like I'm like some sort of dyed-in-the-wool long-term Republican. I'd call myself, historically a moderate Democrat, but now I feel like we're really at a critical juncture for the country, I think a lot of people thought, the Biden administration.
He knows who he's catering to, right?
And
on the new Twitter.
We're just going to see an even further left administration with Kamala. That's my honest opinion. I mean, her dad is literally. She was brought up as an actual. Her dad is a Marxist economist. You can Google it. I mean, it's not we're not making this up. That's how she was brought up. So, and we want to have a future that is prosperous. And I think we're just at this critical juncture. And I think this is a case of America is kind of at a fork in the road, and
true.
And I think it will take if the path to, like, you are the path to prosperity, and I think Kamala is the opposite. Then that's my honest opinion. I'm gonna get attacked like crazy, and I've also experienced quite a bit of lawfare myself, but I'm just trying to tell people my honest opinion, and I haven't been really active in politics before. And I'm just trying to point out that my track record historically has been moderate, if not moderate, slightly left. And so this is to people out there who are in the moderate camp to say, I think you should support Donald Trump for president. And I think it's actually a very important junction in the road, and we're in deep trouble if it goes the other way.
Well, I want to thank you. And, I actually always did think of you as somewhat left. I must say that. So it's even more of an honor to have your endorsement. I know how strong you feel about it. But, when you think of her, San Francisco, 15 years ago, I had a great friend, Bob Tisch. He said it's the greatest city in America. And now it's almost not livable there. And California likewise. And she was involved in the destruction of San Francisco and the destruction of California. And she will be involved in the destruction of our country if people are so unwise as to elect her. And I hope that doesn't happen. And I hope the elections are going to be run honestly. And we're going to turn this country around. We're going to do things and we can do it fairly quickly. And we have to get rid of the criminals that have been, given to us by other countries as they laugh. They laugh at us. They think we're stupid to accept these people. These are radical, stone-cold killers in many cases, and terrorists.
The late, great Dr. Hannibal Lecter.
By the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah.
And we have to take them out.
Yeah, I mean, if I could summarize it, perhaps, I think
take them out.
These are issues that I think most people in America would agree with, which is that we want safe and clean cities, we want secure borders, we want sensible government spending, we want to
sensible spending with Trump,
and the reality of respect in the judicial system. Just stop the lawfare, and I think. That's like, and how are those even right-wing positions? I think those are that's just common sense, and that's I mean, would you agree with that?
100%. I don't understand. The whole, they call it progressive. They don't like the word liberal anymore, but call it liberal or progressive. I don't understand how somebody could say that it's okay for them to empty prisons into our country. And again, I told you their crime rates all over the world are going way down, which makes sense. In fact, the next time what we'll do is if something happens,
Our crime rate's going down.
it would be a horror show. We'll meet the next time in Venezuela because it'll be a far safer place to meet than our country, okay? So we'll go, you and I will go, and we'll have a meeting and dinner in Venezuela because that's what's happening. Their crime rate's coming down and our crime rate's going through the roof, and it's so simple. And you haven't seen anything yet because these people have come into our country and they're just getting acclimated. And they don't know about being politically correct law enforcement or lack of law enforcement. And our police, I have to just end with this. We have great police. We have great law enforcement, but they're not allowed to do their job. They have to be able to do their job without being destroyed.
Well, absolutely. And it's obviously demoralizing if you're a police officer risking your life to arrest violent criminals who could kill you and do kill you sometimes. And then you arrest a violent criminal, and then the DA, doesn't prosecute and just let the guy out. Yeah. Well, then, like, why should a police officer risk their life to arrest a violent felon?
Well, even worse, Elon,
nothing's going to happen.
Even worse, they prosecute the police officer. They go after it and they prosecute the police officer and they take away his pension.
Immunity, give him immunity.
Take away his job. He loses his family. He loses his house.
Well, I thought it was very telling, like incredibly telling, that when there was that case where sort of a gang of thugs beat up police officers. I think it was in Times Square in New York, and then nothing happened to those guys. They were let out, zero bail, and I think a bunch of them were given free tickets to California. Well, what is I mean, that is a gross indignity against the United States, and that's how, I mean, this is insane. Like, have we lost all pride? How can such a thing be allowed to occur?
I've never seen anything. We see where they get shot. It's a very dangerous profession, but it's something they're very proud of, and they want to be able to do their job. But I've seen them get shot. I've seen a lot of things. But I've never seen where these guys are standing in the middle of a big street, everybody watching them, and they're literally boxing, like punching, stand-up fighting a police officer. There were two of them, and you had about 60 of these guys, and they're punching the hell out of them. And in their own country, they would be dead if they did that. They'd be shot. They would be shot instantly. And, they come from these countries, and it's taking them a while to realize that we don't do that in this country. But in their own country, if they stood on a street and had a fight with a police officer, they would be shot. There's no political correctness. And it's such a sad, it's such a sad thing to see. And that's the reason you have crime, by the way, because we don't do anything about it.
Yeah, we just cannot have a situation where our police officers are beaten up on camera by a gang of illegal immigrants, and then nothing happens to the guys that beat up the cops. I mean, and they're let out. This is unacceptable.
Well, we're going to change it, and we're going to get them out of the country. When I first got involved, they said you couldn't get them back to these countries. You couldn't take them back. In the case of
I can get behind this policy.
Honduras, El Salvador, some others, you couldn't get them back. And I said, really? Oh, you can't get them back? Because under Obama, he couldn't get them back. They'd fly them in, and they'd put planes on the runways in these countries so you couldn't land the plane. They'd bring them back. And the generals told me, sir, we can't bring them back. The countries won't accept MS-13 gang members. They won't accept them. And I said, really, how much do we pay these various countries in terms of economic aid, which is also somewhat ridiculous? And the answer was $750 million. I said, good. Tell them they're in default. They're delinquent. We're not paying them anymore because they won't accept it. And you know what happened? They all called me, every one of them. They said, we would be honored to take them back, sir. We would be honored. It was so easy. But it's one of those things. And we got them back. We took in so many. The MS-13 is probably the worst gangs in the world. They're the most vicious, violent. We took them out of here by the thousands and got them out of here. And their countries took them back. And because I said, you're not getting any more economic aid. And once I said that, they were nice. They wouldn't take them back for Obama. They wouldn't take them back for anybody. And now we have a problem because we have this guy, and they don't take him back anymore with Biden because they don't respect him.
Yeah. It's just gotta be done. We just can't have whether they're citizens or not citizens. We can't have, because they won't prosecute citizens either. Not just illegals. So if it's you can't have violent, repeat violent offenders that are not that don't get incarcerated.
That's right.
Because they will.
Yes, Elon has Asperger's.
By definition, continue to hurt people, and I think we're part of this.
I think he announced it on like Saturday Night Live or some shit.
I do sort of consider myself liberal in some ways. I mean, it's just that.
Or did he just make fun of it there?
Right.
He said it on Saturday Night Live.
Empathy for people. I totally agree with that. You want to have empathy, but you also have to have empathy for the victims of the criminals. And if you just have empathy for the criminals, it's actually shallow empathy. It's not real. You're not thinking. You have one layer deep empathy. You got to say, like, what if you don't incarcerate this person? Who are they going to hurt? Who are they might kill someone. They might rape someone. If you don't incarcerate them, you have to have empathy for the victims. And there's a lack of empathy for the victims of the criminals, and too much empathy for the criminals. It doesn't make sense. That's why you want to have deep empathy.
He said while speaking to a convicted felon.
Shallow empathy for criminals.
Right. And we have to give our police officers the dignity and the respect that they deserve. And we have to let them do their job. They can do a great job, but we have to let them do their job. And if we don't do that, it's going to all disappear. There's never been a society like this where you're allowed to do anything you want and nothing happens. And I'm talking about violent crime. And it's going to get more violent because
that's what Trump does. Anything he wants.
And we're going to get them out of our country.
Nothing happens.
Back to where, because they were sent here by the presidents and by the various people that run those countries. And I know every one of those guys. And they're smart people. And they're streetwise people. And they really think that the USA is stupid. They think we're run by stupid people. And they happen to be right. But when I was there, we had no problem. We got them out. We took out thousands of MS-13 gang members. We brought them back. And now, again, it's the same old story. We don't do it. And they actually gave them a big increase in aid. They raised it up to billions of dollars, and they get nothing for it. So, I hope everybody's going to vote for Trump, and we're going to get this country straight. Yeah. And I didn't need this. I'm like you. I didn't need this. I had a very nice life. I didn't need to go through court systems and go through all the other stuff and run at the same time. I have to run. I have to go through fake trials with, in some cases, corrupt judges, totally corrupt judges. I didn't need it. I had a nice life. I have great locations. I have beautiful oceans that I have places. But I felt it was important. And if I had to do it over again, you probably think I'm crazy for doing it, actually. But if I had to do it over again, I would have done it over again, because this is so much more important than me or my life.
He's saving you guys.
Save this country. This country is going down. And these people are bad people that we're running against, and they're liars. They make statements. They do things that are so bad. They say they're going to make a strong border. They say they've been great on the border, and they've been the worst in history. They say they're going to stop crime.
The facts speak for themselves.
We can see the numbers, bro.
Speak for themselves. Like, it's gotten to the point where people just don't even.
After you squash the border bill.
Right.
Because they know nothing is going to happen. That's what I hear anecdotally from people all the time. It's just, my values, I'm just saying to people out there, like the things I think are important for the future is, like, we've got to have safe cities, we've got to have secure borders, we've got to have sensible spending, and we've got to have deregulation, and so we can have a prosperous future. And then we want to have some exciting, sort of moonshot projects that people can get fired up about, and that's the future I'm looking for. And I'm pro-environment, but I'm not against. I'm not like, I don't think we should vilify the oil and gas industry, because they're keeping civilization going right now, and but I do think we want to move at a reasonable speed towards a sustainable energy economy. Those are my values, and I think so I mean that's why I'm
maybe he just doesn't have a man
president,
Well, I appreciate it. We're going to give incentive to companies to come into our country, not to leave our country. We're going to be giving tremendous incentives. We want companies to build here, not to build in other locations, and we want to create jobs. And again, it's about the American dream. You don't hear about the American dream anymore, Elon. You don't hear. You're the American dream in the truest sense, but you don't hear about the American dream anymore, and you're going to hear about it. People, they need that incentive to go out and do it, and they're going to love their lives. I mean, they're going to look forward to getting up in the morning and going to a job that they love, not a job that they can't stand, or not any job at all where they have no money, where they literally have no money, and then they end up with violence and lots of other problems. No, we're going to do some great things, and I learned a lot in the first. We had a great economy and all of that. We rebuilt the military. We did so much, but I also learned the best people. I learned the good people, the smart people, the dumb people, the people that can do things. The people, you learn. When I first came in, I tell people I was in Washington, D.C. only 17 times, according to the fake news media. I was in 17 times. I never stayed over. And you don't know people. You rely on other people to give you names, and then you realize the people you relied on weren't so good. Now, we had great people, but we also had some where I wouldn't have, used them had I known. Now I know everybody, and I think we're going to really turn things around fast. We have no choice, otherwise we're not going to have a country. And I really appreciate this. To me, it's been a lot of fun being with you.
Not gonna have a country.
An amazing guy. You've done an incredible job, and
what a drinking game.
People, a great inspiration, and I hope you keep going and just continue to do well. And we're going to have a big election coming up. And I think November 5th will be the most important day in the history of our country. I think that election will be the most important election. And I think it'll end up being maybe the most important day in the history of our country, because if we don't win, I just feel so sorry for everybody.
No, I think we're at a fork in the road of destiny of civilization, and I think we need to take the right path, and I think you're the right path. So I think that's what it comes down to.
Thank you very much, Elon. It's a great honor, and we'll do it again sometime. And it's been really fun, and I hope you got a lot of viewers. I hear you got a lot, but I hope you got I know you got a lot of them. So I appreciate it. I'll see you soon.
Bone blood.
Thank you.
A lot of blood. Lot of blood. You guys like blood? I've been told there's a lot of blood in the ears. That's the 3 fucking hours, dude. It hit my upper lobe. Hit my lobe. Just where it connects to my upper chin. Right about here. My lobe on the chin. You guys know. Jesus fucking Christ. It was rough. I took some notes. What we want to talk about? Here we go. The Keystone Pipeline. So Obama administration and the Trump administration independently did 2 studies talking about the Keystone Pipeline and its reduction of fuel cost in the United States. Both of these studies said that it would not reduce the price of oil in the United States, or gas in the United States. Both Obama and Trump administrations concluded that the Keystone XL pipeline would not have lowered prices, gasoline prices. NRDC and its partners also found the majority of Keystone XL oil, somewhere around 90%, would have been sent to markets overseas, aided by a 2015 reversal of the ban on crude oil exports. This lines up with the oil industry trend that gas and oil companies are exporting 8.4 million barrels of crude oil and refined fuels every single day. That's up nearly 3-fold from a decade ago, and an amount equal to 42% of our consumption. And these exports are more than 10 times the capacity of the proposed Keystone XL pipeline. So just not exporting it and keeping it here would be 10 times more oil than the Keystone XL expansion would have done. It's also very bad for leaks. Tar sands oils is thicker, more acidic, and more corrosive than lighter conventional crude, and this ups the likelihood that a pipeline carrying it will leak. Indeed, one study found that between 2007 and 2010, pipelines moving tar sands oil in the Midwestern states spilled 3 times more per mile than U.S. national average for pipelines carrying conventional crude oil. Since it first went into operation in 2010, TC Energy's original Keystone piping system has leaked more than a dozen times. One incident in North Dakota sent a 60-foot, 2,100-gallon geyser of tar sands oil spewing into the air. Less than 2 years before the project was finally pulled, the Keystone Tar Sands pipeline was temporarily shut down after a spill in North Dakota of reportedly more than 378,000 gallons in late October 2019. And the risk that the Keystone XL would have spilled was heightened because of the extended time the pipe segments were left sitting outside in stockpiles. A study published in early 2020, co-authored by TC Energy's own scientists, found that the anti-corrosion coating on the project's pipes was damaged from being stored outside and exposed to the elements for the last decade. Complicating matters, leaks can be difficult to detect, and when tar sand oil does spill, it's more difficult to clean up than conventional crude because it immediately sinks to the bottom of a waterway. People and wildlife coming into contact with tar sands oil are exposed to toxic chemicals, and rivers and wetland environments are at a particular risk from a spill. For evidence, note the 2010 tar sands oil spill in Kalamazoo River, Michigan, a disaster that cost Enbridge more than $1 billion in cleanup fees and took 6 years to settle in court. Keystone XL would have crossed agriculturally important, environmentally sensitive areas, including hundreds of rivers, streams, aquifers, and water bodies. One was Nebraska's Ogallala Aquifer, which provides drinking water for millions, as well as 30% of America's irrigation water. A spill would have been devastating to the farms, ranches, and communities that depend on these crucial ecosystems. Even worse, building Keystone XL would have meant enduring those risks just to send the fuel to overseas rivals and profits for big oil. It wouldn't have affected you at the tank. And multiple, not just an Obama study, a Trump study, a study that the Trump team commissioned revealed the exact same thing. What else? U.S. versus Israel and Iron Dome. The Iron Dome is good at low-tech, relatively close threats, right? They have people lobbing mortars and slow-moving rockets, small artillery into their country. We don't face that same threat here, right? No one's setting up in fucking Mexico with 1,200 fucking rockets and they're going to shoot them at the goddamn Alamo, right? That's not the threat we face here. Instead, we have a very, very, very good air defense system. And if you've ever watched Habitual Line Crosser on TikTok, he's an instructor on it. That's what he does, and he can tell you all about it. Drill, baby, drill. We're drilling more than any other country in the world right now. Even under Biden, we're drilling more oil than ever before, than any other country in the world. These energy prices, this energy independence, we've never been energy independent. That's not a thing. We haven't been energy independent and in fucking decades. Trump didn't make us energy independent. That wasn't a thing that happened. We were always importing oil, even though he'll claim that. And drilling more is not going to reduce your rent. AI power requirements. I found one study that cited, maybe this is where he got this from, that AI is poised to drive 160% increase in data center power usage. Okay? So they're shooting for a maximum number here, up to 160% in data centers. I don't know where he gets this number that all the power produced in the United States, we're going to need 3 times that much just for AI. I don't know where he's citing this from, where he gets it from, who told him that. It seems like this is from Goldman Sachs, and the study was provided by Goldman Sachs Research. Estimates that data center power demand will grow to 160% for data centers. So what if, let's say they're getting 1,000 kilowatts, right? That's going to grow by 160%. Not the nation needs 3 times the amount of power we have now to run AI. I don't know where you got that from. The $500 hammer. So he's talking about bidding and he's talking about stuff like that. So all government shit is put out on bids. Can those bids be manipulated? Technically, right? Technically they could. If you send them out to 3 airplane manufacturers and they're all talking behind the scenes and they say, we're going to send a 70 million bid, even though it only costs us 50, and then everybody sends a 70 million bid. Technically, it could. But what's supposed to happen in a free market is you either negotiate that or another company would step up and say, we can do it for 50 million, which is like the actual price. When we're talking about the $500 hammer, this is a notorious story about government spending. It's almost like a legend now, where the government puts out a bid for something simple like a hammer. It goes through 50 different goddamn contractors because no one, like the hammer companies, don't bid on government contracts usually. It's usually like a requisition company that does it to a contracting company. The contracting company reaches out to tool manufacturers. The tool manufacturers reach out to a hammer manufacturer, and everybody makes a piece of the pie. This obviously can be reduced, but that's something the military has been working on forever, is getting government contracts reduced. Instead of paying $500 per hammer, instead they just go directly to the hammer manufacturers or multiple hammer manufacturers and say, hey, we need a hammer. Trump spending. Even before COVID, Trump was setting records on his spending. Donald Trump built a national debt so big, even before the pandemic, that it'll weigh down the economy for years. One of President Donald Trump's lesser-known but profoundly damaging legacies will be the explosive rise in national debt that occurred on his watch. The financial burden that he's inflicted on our government will wreak havoc for decades, saddling our kids and grandkids with the debt. The national debt has risen by $7.8 trillion during Trump's time in office. That's nearly twice as much as what Americans owe on student loans, car loans, credit cards, and every other type of debt and other than mortgages combined, according to data from the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. It amounts to about $23,500 in new federal debt for every person in the country. The growth of the annual deficit under Trump ranks as the third biggest increase relative to the size of the economy of any U.S. presidential administration, according to a calculation by leading Washington budget maven Eugene Sturler, co-founder of the Urban Brookings Tax Policy Center. And unlike George W. Bush and Abraham Lincoln, who oversaw the largest relatively increases deficit relative to the economy side, Trump did not launch two foreign conflicts or have to pay for a civil war. So he's third relative to economy size, but he's behind George W. Bush, who launched two fucking foreign wars, and Abraham Lincoln, who had to pay for the Civil War, right? Trump, of course, he gave us a tax break that expired. He gave all his buddies a tax break that's getting ready to expire. And of course he raised this, all the shit he spent on, and saying, oh, their spending's out of control. And didn't do anything for infrastructure. You're exactly right. Economists agree that we needed massive deficit spending during the COVID-19 crisis to ward off an economic cataclysm, but federal finances under Trump had become dire before the pandemic. That happened even though the economy was booming and unemployment was at historically low levels. By the Trump administration's own description, the pre-pandemic national debt level was already a crisis and a grave threat. The combination of Trump's, I think this would, if COVID wouldn't have happened, this would be the biggest fucking story attached to Trump, right? But he gets his pass because he had to spend so much during COVID as well. The combination of Trump's 2017 tax cut and the lack of any serious spending restraint helped both the deficit and the debt soar. So when the once-in-a-lifetime viral disaster slammed our country and we threw more than $3 trillion into COVID-19 related stimulus, there was no longer any margin for error. Our national debt has reached immense levels relative to our economy, nearly as high as it was at the end of World War II. But unlike 75 years ago, the massive financial overhang from Medicare and Social Security will make it dramatically more difficult to dig ourselves out of this this debt ditch. Falling deeper into the red is the opposite of what Trump, the self-styled king of debt, said would happen if he became president. In March 31st, 2016, interview with Bob Woodward and Robert Costa of the Washington Post, Trump said he could pay down the national debt, then at about $19 trillion, over a period of 8 years by renegotiating trade deals and spurring economic growth. After he took office, Trump predicted that economic growth created by the 2017 tax cut, combined with the proceeds from the tariffs he imposed on a wide range of goods from numerous countries, would help eliminate the budget deficit and let the U.S. begin to pay down its debt. On July 27, 2018, he told Sean Hannity of Fox News, "We have $21 trillion in debt. When this the 2017 tax cut really kicks in, we'll start paying off that debt like it's water. 9 days later, he tweeted, because of the tariffs, we would be able to start paying down large amounts of $21 trillion in debt that has been accumulated, much by the Obama administration. That's not how it played out. When Trump took office in January 2017, the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office was projecting that federal budget deficits would be 2% to 3% of our gross domestic product during Trump's term. Instead, the deficit reached nearly 4% of gross domestic product in 2018 and 4.6% in 2019. There were multiple culprits. Trump's tax cuts, especially the sharp reduction in corporate tax rate from 21 to 21 from 35, took a big bite of the federal revenue. The CBO estimated in 2018 that the tax cut would increase the deficits by about 1.9 trillion over 11 years. So just that tax cut of his put 1.9 trillion on the books. Meanwhile, Trump's claim that increased revenue from the tariffs would help eliminate or at least reduce our national debt hasn't panned out. In 2018, Trump's administration began hiking tariffs on aluminum, steel, and many other products, launching what became a global trade war with China and the European Union and other countries. The tariffs did bring in additional revenue. In fiscal 2019, they netted about $71 billion, up from $36 billion from Obama's last year in office. But although $36 billion is a lot of money, it's less than 1/750th of our national debt. That $36 billion could have covered a bit more than 3 weeks. Could have covered a little bit more than 3 weeks of interest on the national debt. That is, had Trump not unilaterally decided to send a chunk of the tariff revenue to farmers affected by his trade wars. So he literally took some of that money and sent it to farmers that he fucked with the trade wars. Businesses that struggled as a result of the tariffs also paid fewer taxes, offsetting some of that increased tariff revenue. By early 2019, the national debt had climbed to $22 trillion. Trump's budget proposal for 2020 called it a grave threat to our economic and societal prosperity and asserted that U.S. was experiencing a national debt crisis. However, that same budget proposal included substantial growth in the national debt. So he's telling you when he presents his budget that this is a grave threat to our economic and societal prosperity, right? We need to get rid of this debt. It's bad. If this debt keeps going, we won't have a country. That's his favorite thing to fucking say. But then he put in the budget and produced more fucking debt. By the end of 2019, the debt had risen 23.2 trillion, and more federal officials were sounding the alarm. Not since World War II has the country seen deficits during times of low employment that are as large as those that we project, nor in the past has it experienced large deficits for as long as we project, Philip Swagel, director of CBO, said in January 2020. Weeks later, COVID-19 erupted and made financials situation far worse. As of December 31st, 2020, the national debt had jumped to 27.75. So when they finally started sounding the alarm and they're like, this is crazy, blah, blah, like we've never seen this. Even in World War II, we've never seen this at a time with this low unemployment and the economy doing so good. He's still spending more and we can't keep up. Then COVID-19 hit a week later. As of December 31st, 2020, the national debt had jumped to $27.75 trillion, up 39% from $19.95 trillion when Trump was sworn in. The government ended its 2020 fiscal year with a portion of the national debt owed to investors, the metric favored by the CBO, at around 100% of our GDP. The CBO had predicted less than a year earlier that it would take until 2030 to reach that approximate level. So he somehow was able to get in there and get this 100% of debt owed to investors 10 fucking years early. And then wants to talk about other people's spending. I don't know what you're talking. Biden has deported more people than the Trump administration already. Anyways, what other notes did I get? That's Trump spending. Pipeline explosives. There's been a development in this story. This doesn't really have to do with Trump, but I did mention it earlier. There's been a couple of developments in this story. So if you don't know, I guess the Swedish were looking into this, the Sweden, and they finally closed on February 7th of this year. They finally closed their investigation. It says Sweden announced on Wednesday that it had dropped its investigation into the explosions in the 2022 Nord Stream pipelines carrying Russian gas to Germany and had handed it evidence it uncovered over to German investigators. Here's what we know about the blast, which destroyed 3 out of 4 pipelines, hastening Europe's switch to other energy suppliers following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. No one has taken responsibility. And if we scroll down here, how were the pipelines damaged? On September 26, 2022, Swedish seismologists registered several blasts, some 17 hours apart, off the Danish island of Bornholm that ruptured 3 out of the 4 lines of the Nord Stream system, sending plumes of methane into the atmosphere. Gazprom said about 800 million cubic meters of gas, equivalent to about 3 months of Danish gas supplies, had escaped. It took several days for the gas to stop leaking. Sweden has found traces of explosives on several objects recovered from the explosive site, confirming it was a deliberate act. In July, Germany told the UN Security Council that it also found traces of subsea explosives on a sailing yacht that may have been used to transport the explosives. Germany has confirmed its investigators raided a ship identified by German media as the 50-foot sailing yacht in January last year that may have been used to transport the explosives used to blow up the pipeline. The boat, which was leased in Germany via a Poland-registered company, contained traces of octagon, the same explosive that was found at the underwater blast sites, according to investigations by Germany, Denmark, and Sweden. Germany told the UN that it was possible for trained divers to attach explosives to the pipeline, laying it about 70 to 80 meters deep where the explosions occurred. So you remember when, what's his name? What's the airplane guy? Monkey, whatever. That he did. He was like, oh, this plane shot this missile, blah, 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 blah. Why doesn't Biden, what are you talking about? The border isn't open, right? When you say close the border, you don't want anybody to be able to cross the border? When you say close the border, what do you think happens? They turn a big key and lock it? Because that never happens, right? We had Title 42, which is a national emergency for healthcare that Biden tried to keep in place, which was automatic deportation because COVID was going on. Finally, the courts took that away. Biden administration has deported more people than the Trump administration. ICE is still working. The fucking Border Patrol is still working. They're still doing their fucking jobs. They've deported more people. What do you think happens? That nobody's down there and people just run across and they're like, oh, well, who cares? I don't know how you get so brainwashed to not know what's on. Like, there's statistics on this. And you're like, I saw a video of 3 people running across a river. Border must be open. What the fuck does open mean? So it wasn't a missile. It was divers, even though it was really deep, 70, 80 meters deep where the explosions occurred. It seems like professional divers did it. Who's behind the explosions? Some U.S. and European officials initially suggested Moscow had blown up its own pipeline for the media attention, an interpretation dismissed as idiotic by Vladimir Putin. Instead, Putin has put the blame on, quote, Anglo-Saxons, using Kremlin terms for the U.S. and Britain. Without providing evidence, it has also blamed Ukraine. All 3 countries denied. So it blamed the U.S., Britain, and Ukraine, right? The White House last year dismissed a blog post by a U.S. investigative journalist alleging Washington was behind the explosives as utterly false and complete fiction. The U.S. and German media have reported that the yacht could have been used by Ukrainian or pro-Ukrainian groups, citing leaked intelligence reports and people familiar. So they think that maybe private people, maybe not associated, allegedly not associated with anything, may have rented the yacht, and they've been pro-Ukraine. And that they rented it and somehow got a hold of the explosives and did it. I think it probably has ties to a foreign country. And we'll hold on. There's more to this. Oh, shit. Hold on. Maybe there's more to this. We're just at 90 degrees. Maybe to go back down. Is the audio still okay? Or is it cutting out? Let's close some stuff. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Maybe. All right, load. Here we go. Some U.S. and European officials suggested, we just read that, the White House dismissed that story. The U.S. and German media have reported that the yacht could have been used by Ukrainian or pro-Ukrainian groups, citing leaked intelligence reports. So, in November of last year, the Washington Post reported that Roman Chervinsky, a former intelligence official who served in the Ukrainian military special forces, managed a 6-person team, but did not plan the attack. He denied any involvement. The Post said Chervinsky took orders from senior Ukrainian officials who ultimately reported to Commander-in-Chief General Valery Zalazny. Reuters was unable to verify the report independently. They've made no public comment. Germany's Der Spiegel and ZDF have said that a group of 6 people, 5 men and 1 woman, boarded Andromeda in Rostock, Germany on September 6, using forged passports, and returned to Rostock on September 23rd. The yacht was spotted at a small Danish island of Christiansø near the explosion site on September 16th through 18th, and made a short stop at a marina in Kolobzeg, Poland on September 19th before returning to Germany. Poland said in January that it has been cooperating with allies in a probe into the sabotage of the Nord Stream pipelines. There was no evidence to suggest that Poland was used as a hub for the sabotage, Polish prosecutors said last year. A day after the explosion on September 27, 2022, German magazine Der Spiegel wrote that the CIA had warned Germany in the summer of 2022 about a possible attack on the Baltic Sea pipeline. The Washington Post, citing leaked information posted online, wrote last June that the United States learned of a Ukrainian plan to attack Nord Stream natural gas pipelines 3 months before they were damaged. What the fuck is this Amazon link? 3 months before they were damaged. The intelligence report was based on information provided by a source in Ukraine, the Post added, adding that the CIA shared it with Germany. So it's 3 months before this, the CIA went to Germany and said, hey, there might be an attack coming on these. We don't know, but this is coming from some intelligence out of Ukraine. The CIA shared it with Germany and other European countries in June of 2022. Dutch national broadcaster NOS reported the same month that the tip came from the Dutch military intelligence agency, the MIVD. So Dutch agency said, here's what's going on, right? We think that we've picked up this intelligence. According to the Post, the CIA relayed to Zalazini through an intermediary that the United States opposed such an operation. So the United States said, no, we oppose this. If this is going on, we've heard this going on. If this is going on, we oppose it. And it says Reuters was unable to verify it. So they know the people. They know the fake passports. They know the people that come there. They know the explosives that was used. They know the boat that was used. They basically know everything about it. How it happened, when it happened, the days they took it, the people with the fake passports, everything. Because these people are asylum seekers, right? It's not remain in Mexico for fucking criminals. It's not remain in Mexico for fucking the Honorable Dr. Hannibal Lecter. It's not remain in Mexico for the fucking people that have been released from the nut house or drugged. They're asylum seekers, right? They're asylum seekers. This has always been the policy until Trump came in for whatever reason. Asylum seekers are protected. Asylum seekers are given the courtesy of seeking asylum. The Remain in Mexico policy was for asylum seekers. Trump will tell you that they just claim that they're asylum, but there's actually a process they go through, and they have to prove they're asylum seekers. Then they get the benefit of the doubt because they're seeking asylum from somebody. If you send them back to the country they're at and they get fucking murdered or destroyed or killed or whatever because they were seeking asylum, you don't think that's shitty? The Department of Homeland Security said Monday that it would end a Trump-era policy requiring asylum seekers to wait in Mexico for hearings in U.S. immigration court, hours after a judge lifted an order in effect that had since December that it should be reinstated. The timing had been in doubt since the Supreme Court ruled on June 30th that the Biden administration could end Remain in Mexico policy. Homeland Security officials had been largely silent, saying that it had to wait for the court to certify the ruling for a Trump-appointed judge, Matthew Kacsmaryk in Amarillo, Texas, to then lift his injunction. The Supreme Court certified its ruling last week. The program will be unwound in a quick, orderly manner, Homeland Security said in a statement. No more people are being enrolled, and those who appear in court will not be returned to Mexico when they appear in the U.S. for the next hearings. The policy has endemic flaws, imposes unjustifiable human cost, and pulls resources and personnel away from other priority efforts to secure our border, the department said. The policy has flaws, imposes unjustifiable human cost, and pulls resources and personnel away from other priority efforts to secure our border. This is, I don't know, this is an asylum seeker process. Many questions remain, including whether those who have claims have been denied or dismissed will get a second chance, or if those in the next court dates are months away will be allowed to return to the U.S. sooner. Homeland Security said it would provide additional information in the coming days. About 70,000 migrants were subject to the policy, known officially as Migrant Protection Protocols, from when President Donald Trump introduced it in January 2019 until President Joe Biden suspended it on his first day in office, January 2021. Fulfilling a campaign promise, many were allowed to return to the United States to pursue their cases. They've got a bid for asylum, right? And they're obviously going to show up to court. They ought to be here protected. They're asylum seekers, right? What if you went to the fucking state of Kentucky and you're like, oh my God, my ex is part of a drug cartel and he's trying to kill me. I'm just trying to get in the state of Kentucky. And they're like, that's cool. You'll probably get in. We know all about your ex, the cartel drug dealer, but go back to your house and wait on us. Like, this has been long-standing policy everywhere in the world. Trump just thought it made him look cool. Nearly 5,800 people were subject to the policy from December through June, a modest number. Nicaraguans account for the largest number, with others from Cuba, Colombia, and Venezuela. Trump made the policy a centerpiece of border enforcement, which critics say is inhumane for exposing migrants to extreme violence in Mexico and making access to attorneys far more difficult. Not to mention, how do you get a fucking attorney? If you're an asylum seeker and you get representation, how do you even get a fucking attorney if they just turn you away until you go back home? It's not for the vast majority of people just running across the border. It's for legitimate asylum seekers, and I don't think they should be kept in Mexico. How are they going to make their fucking case? Send them back to Mexico? Do they get fucking stabbed to death? And it's only 70,000 people that have used it in the Trump era. Like, that's not even a big fucking number when we're talking about people that cross the border. You have to file Form I-589, application for asylum, withholding removal within how do you apply? That's once you're already stateside. How to seek asylum in the U.S. To seek asylum, you must be in the U.S. and believe you will be in danger of persecution if you return to your country. Learn how to seek asylum and sponsor someone else. Learn if you're eligible and how to apply for asylum. To be eligible, you must be in the United States, able to demonstrate that you are persecuted or have fear of persecution in your home country due to your race, religion, nationality, social group, or political opinion. In most cases, a decision will be made on your asylum application within 180 days after you file, and you can still be deported if you're denied. Learn more about the process of seeking asylum in the United States, including filing asylum application form I-589 within 1 year of your arriving in the United States, working in the United States as an asylum seeker, helping family members also seek asylum, filing for a permanent residence or a green card. If you come to the United States in the last 2 years as an asylee, you may be able to sponsor your spouse or qualifying children to join you. Find out how to sponsor your family member for asylum. Learn more how to qualify as a sponsor, who is eligible to sponsor, how to download the form I-730 to request asylum for your family member. So they are fleeing their country and persecution because of their race, religion, nationality, social group, or political opinion. You'll have a decision within 180 days. It's still subject to if you just lie and you're like, I'm an asylum seeker, and you come over here and you're still subject to deportation. You have to declare yourself an asylum seeker, and that's how they get all your information. I don't understand it. Most people think the remain in Mexico applies to everybody who crosses the border illegally, and that's just not true. It's a very, very, very small minority of those people that even qualify or try to qualify or try to go to court for it. People just hear that Trump or Biden ended remain in Mexico, and they think everybody just comes here and they stay here until they go to court, they disappear, and they go stab my daughter. No. You're talking about a very, very, very small minority of the people that are trying to cross the United States. They're asylum seekers, and they have something going on at home, and they have to be able to prove that in court. Spouse and children. If you are placed in expedited removal proceedings, you receive a probably credible fear determination. Pending with us, you can check on the status. I wanted to read this. Where'd it go? What is this one? There are 3 ways of obtaining asylum in the United States: the affirmative process, the asylum merits interview after a positive credible fear determination, or the defensive process. To obtain asylum through the affirmative process, you must be physically present in the United States. You may apply for asylum regardless of how you arrived in the United States or your current immigration status. You must apply for asylum within 1 year of the date of your last arrival in the United States, unless you show you change circumstances that materially affect your eligibility, or you filed within a reasonable amount of time given those circumstances. You may apply for affirmative asylum by submitting that form. If your case is not approved and you do not have a legal immigration status, we will issue a form I-862, notice to appear, and refer your case to an immigration judge with the Department of Justice's Executive Office of Immigration. The immigration judge conducts a de novo hearing of the case. This means that the judge conducts a new hearing and issue a decision that is independent of the decision made by the USCIS. For certain circumstances, if USCIS does not have jurisdiction over your case, the asylum office will issue a Form I-63, notice of referral to an immigration judge for an asylum-only hearing. See the section Defensive Asylum Seeking with a EOIR below the situation applies to you. If you were previously issued an NTA that was filed and docketed with EOIR Immigration Court, or you previously issued NTA that was filed and docketed with EOIR, shortly there before 21 days or after you filed this form with USCIS, USCIS will refile your NTA. What's the merits interview? If you are placed in an expedited removal proceedings that indicate an intention to apply for asylum, express a fear of persecution or torture, or express fear of return to your country, you will be referred to USCIS for a credible fear screening. A USCIS asylum officer will conduct a credible fear screening interview to determine whether you have credible fear of persecution or torture. If an asylum officer finds that you have a credible fear of persecution or torture, USCIS may either retain and consider your application for asylum and also consider your eligibility for withholding of removal and protection under the Conventioning Against Torture, the CAT, in a second interview. This is known as asylum merits interview. An asylum officer will decide whether you are eligible for asylum. If necessary, an asylum officer will also determine whether you demonstrated eligibility for withholding of removal or protection under CAT based on the record before the USCIS. Or they will issue a notice to appear before an immigration judge for consideration of your asylum, withholding, removal, and CAT protective claims. When you file the Form I-589, application for asylum and for withholding removal, with the immigration court, it places you in the defensive asylum process. See defensive asylum process above or below. See defensive asylum process OIR. A defensive application for asylum occurs when you request asylum as a defense against removal from the United States. For asylum processing to be defensive, you must be in removal proceedings in the immigration courts with the Executive Office of Immigration Review, EOIR. Individuals are generally placed in defensive asylum processing in one of two ways. They are referred to an immigration judge by USCIS. Oh shit, what did I just do? Did I open something else? What the fuck did I do? My bad. I clicked on something. I don't know. It took a second to happen. I don't know what it did. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Oh, I went backwards maybe? Let me go back forward. I was interested to read that. Oh, here it is. They referred you to immigration by USCIS after you have been determined to be ineligible for asylum at the end of the affirmative asylum process, or they placed you in removal proceedings because they were apprehended in the United States at a U.S. port of entry without proper legal documents or in violation of their immigration status, or they were apprehended by U.S. Customs and Border Protection trying to enter the United States without proper documentation, were placed in the expedited removal process, and were found to have credible fear of persecution or torture by an asylum officer. Immigration judges hear defensive asylum cases in adversarial courtroom-like proceedings. As necessary, the judge will hear arguments from both of the following parties, you and your attorney if representative, and the U.S. government, which is represented by an attorney from the United States Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The immigration judge then decides whether you are eligible for asylum. If the immigration judge finds you eligible, they will grant you asylum. If the immigration judge finds you ineligible for asylum, they will determine whether you are eligible for any other forms of relief from removal. If the immigration judge finds you ineligible for other forms of relief, they will order you to be removed from the United States. Either party can appeal the immigration judge's decision. See the granted a green card by an immigration judge or Board of Immigration Appeals page for more information about the grant of asylum by an immigration judge. And it says for more information, call. There you go. That's how you get into it. I don't know as much as I probably should. Like I know a broad overview of how to be an asylum seeker, But I don't know. It just kills me that people are like, why don't Biden just close the border? So he hasn't removed any ICE or any Border Patrol agents or any, they're all still doing the exact same job they did under Trump. Right? They're still doing the same screening. They're still watching the same places. They're still picking the same people up. He was forced to end Title 42. The only thing he said is that if you're an asylum seeker, you get to stay here, like that's always been since 2019 when Trump changed it. Not because Trump is singing the polls. Mike Penny is saying Trump is just a character in the movie. Pretty clear they're smelling another election loss for the but they're going to immediately scream that they were cheated. Like that's what they do. That's what they do their thing. Yeah, that's what happens. People that get food stamps go out and buy fucking steak and they eat steak wrapped lobster for every meal, and they literally laugh at you eating your hamburger helper. That's what they do. They peek through your windows because they're all rapists and murderers, and they think about eating you, like the Honorable Dr. Hannibal Lecter. But they're like, we're so full on steak and lobster, so it's actually a deterrent. So they don't eat you and your family. But while they're peeking in your windows, they laugh in foreign languages at you. That's what's happening. I can tell from here. Already I can tell from here. Now, the weirdest story of the night is this. The Secret Service broke into a salon. I didn't misspeak. I didn't stutter. The Secret Service. God, my screens are moving so slow. This computer's got to be getting hot as fuck. My cooler didn't get here today. Hopefully it comes tomorrow. The Secret Service broke into a salon. It is not Pebble Salon. I checked multiple times to see if this was like Phil calling in his buddies. No. Pittsfield Hair Salon owner shocked by break-in during Harris visit. Pittsfield, Massachusetts. 413 Salon was closed on the day that Vice President Kamala Harris stopped at the Colonial Theater last month. The owner was shocked to find that her locked business across from the back of the theater had been entered and the bathroom used during this time. I knew with Secret Service being here in the parking lot and in here, my building was safe because it's all of the police personnel, but it was just a violation. I pay taxes. I'm on top of my stuff. It was just a violation. I was like, wow, that can happen without permission. And that was kind of mind-blowing for me. After searching for answers, Powers said she received a call from the Secret Service representative in Boston last Wednesday who took responsibility for the incident, even though he could not confirm that his agents were involved. She initially hesitated to go public about the incident, but now feels seen and heard by both the agency and local community. I really felt good about that, and that's all I wanted out of the situation was accountability, she said. Because if we do something wrong in the community and we get in trouble, we're held accountable, and we have to make sure that we follow through with that, and that's all that I was asking for. U.S. Secret Service spokesperson Melissa McKenzie confirmed that the agency had contacted Powers. The U.S. Secret Service works closely with our partners in business community to carry out our protective and investigative missions. The Secret Service has since communicated with the affected business owner. We hold these relationships in the highest regard, and our personnel would not enter or instruct our partners to enter a business without the owner's permission. So she's claiming she didn't give them permission. Let me just keep reading. Harris's campaign fundraiser on Saturday, July 27, drew crowds to the downtown prompted countless security measures. Wendell Avenue was blocked off by the public, from the public, and a white tent was placed at the rear of the theater for the vice president's entrance. That's right across the parking lot from Powers' salon. At around 8:12 a.m., while driving home from Cape Cod, she saw that someone had come onto her porch and put a piece of tape over her security camera and taped the outside security camera without permission, reducing it to a black screen. She understood that this was likely needed because of proximity to Harris's entrance. At 11:15 a.m., the door's alarm started going off, but it did not appear that anyone had entered based on the indoor cameras. I couldn't see from my camera above the front desk anybody that walked in. So what I'm assuming is that they maybe checked the door to see if it was unlocked, opened it just a little bit, and the alarm started to go off. Then the alarm was going off for about an hour and a half, or at around 12:42 was the first time somebody entered the salon. Not being able to see from the outside camera, Powers saw two emergency medical workers, a person she was assumed was from a special response team, and a place is safe and locked down. A short wall screens the door from the inside security camera's sight, but there was no sign of it being kicked down. Still, it had somehow become unlocked. So no one knows how it got unlocked. When I get back to my phone, it was actually closer to 2:30 before I caught that. When I saw the people were in here, I literally got in my car and I raced here, and they had already essentially cleaned up and left, Powers said. When I got back here, my front door was left unlocked. I don't know how long it was unlocked for, and that's essentially the gist of what happened. They were walking around in here for a good hour and a half. My alarm was going off the entire time. That should have alarmed somebody that maybe you shouldn't be in this building. Harris said around 3 p.m. with a Secret Service and state police escort and entered the Colonial through a side door. She traveled down Pomeroy Avenue to leave the city around 45 minutes later after speaking for around 15 minutes. Powers said she wasn't able to get to the salon until around 4:30 when security was lifted, but by then the parking lot had cleared out. She asked some sheriff's deputies still there if people had been in her building. Quote, this is what the deputy told her. They said the only thing that I heard was that people were going in there to use the bathroom. And that was when I was kind of baffled, she said. EMS workers told her that somebody dressed in black advised them that they could use her bathroom. She attributed this to the Secret Service. 2 days before the event, the salon underwent bomb sweeps. After an hour and a half, clients began to get pretty uncomfortable, and the team decided to close on Saturday, taking a financial hit on what is usually a busy day. I think it was the best decision, Powers added. The event had support from multiple local and statewide law enforcement departments. Captain Matthew Hill at the bottom of accountability, she said. I'm not looking to file a lawsuit. I'm not looking to do any of that. I just want an apology, and I want accountability for why you were in the building. Powers' wishes were then answered when she received a phone call from a Secret Service representative who reportedly offered compensation for any damages. And you can see some tactical guy here, like basically at the door, coming in the door. He took responsibility, even though he's like, I can't really see if those are my agents, but I want to make sure that you receive an apology. I want to make sure you understand that this is not okay. Permission should have been asked, first of all, to put tape over your camera and to go into your building. He offered any support for my bathroom being left disgustingly dirty, she explained, as the salon had just been cleaned. He offered to have the salon deep cleaned if we needed to. He offered to pay for whatever the alarm bill was going to be because the alarm was going off for 4 hours and nobody could get here, and really just made sure that I felt seen and heard, essentially promised that it wouldn't ever happen again. She feels that it was being nonstop with phone calls that prompted this outcome. I felt like my voice was kind of being quieted, and that's when I made the decision last week to really start speaking on it, Powers said. It happened to be clients were sitting in our chairs that worked for these outlets and felt like it was just all kinds of meant to be. With permission, Powers said she would have been happy to open her bathroom. She noted that this was nothing to do with politics. It could have been Lady Gaga and that was coming into the Colonial Theater, and I would have done the same thing, she said. Either side, either celebrity, it doesn't matter. What libs of TikTok, the accounts, that was supposed to make fun of snowflakes and shit, and now been getting old ladies fired from Home Depot, is now trying to get Secret Service agents fired. And they have been for weeks. God, everything's loading so slowly. I'm sorry. We'll end the show soon. It's clearly getting too hot. Did he go away and then come back, I guess? We'll see. Where I know they have it somewhere. Is this not the right account? Yeah, 14,000. Oh, it's just not loading. Can nobody see or hear me? I don't know. I'm still doing a video, whether you like it or not. Don't refresh. Never refresh. We determine identity, suspect, investigate what happened. Okay, that's not it. Breaking the internet. Let me go back. I don't know. Nothing happened to me. I just kept fucking doing a show. Then saw everybody complaining in the chat. I don't know. Here it is. Secret Service broke into Massachusetts hair salon during Kamala event. They covered the cameras with duct tape, broke inside to use the bathroom, let other attendees use the bathroom, and took candies off the desk. They reportedly left the store unlocked. Here's the footage and shit. So the alarm went off for like an hour and a half. Those look like EMTs stole some candy. So, Lib's a TikTok trying to get this Secret Service agent fired, I guess. There you are. She put this picture out and they're like, who is she? Let's find her. Let's identify her. Whatever. Clearly, the computer's overheating again. I don't know what you guys missed, what you didn't. I read this whole story, went through the whole thing, showed the video. So, whatever you got, you got. I'm out. See you guys next time. Did it do it again? Why does it keep saying I disconnect and reconnect? What the fuck? I'm out. See you guys.
But I can tell you this about if this douchebag happens to see this particular show, you don't have the forking balls to call out the people on this planet by name and tell them exactly who they are and tell them the rest of the world who they are. You don't have the forking balls. You don't have the balls.
Okay, Scott.
Here we go, I think I started some shit. Listen off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the best, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen none yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit.
Maybe you need to go back to China at Suko. Maybe that. Do they even allow God in China?
You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. And they say that I'm a lunatic. Well, listen, bitch, I came equipped with a quick wit and a sixth sense for the stupid shit. Where my true believer? Y'all need Jesus. Praise the Lord, head to the extreme. All these false fucking prophets who profit off of gossip, worshiping Trump's cocky.
Nurse Julie, you're always so polite. Like if there's a Chinese version of Nurse Julie, you would replace Itsuko in a heartbeat. And Itsuko wanted to date Travis at one time too, so you got that in common already.
What's next? Trump in a dress, fucking Flynn on his desk. A retard in a vest, climbing up 5G towers, cause you told him if he did, he'd get fucking superpowers. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. Here we go, I think I started some shit. Piss them off, it's about to get lit. Get the place in the bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. I used to find clues too when I was high on shrooms. I found myself a tunnel that led to Jason Q's bedroom. Open his closet, I found some of his meat rockets. I strapped it to my shoes and then I flew through the roof. I found myself in orbit strapped to an F-16. High on amphetamine, with Trump in between. Put on a light coat of baby oil and saluted the troops. He tapped me on the shoulder and said, "This is gonna be it." Whoa, wait. Stop. What? I'll get my files. Wait, what are you doing? Stop. Hold on. Fucking stop. Dude, come on. Seriously. My mom's an alcoholic. Give me a... Oh, my God. Damn it. Here we go. I think I started some shit. Piss them off. It's about to get lit. Get the place in the bets. You know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet. Here we go. I think I started some shit.
I think, hey, Will, say it again. I think I hear some back.
Bets, you know that stage is set. You better buckle up, cause you ain't seen nothing yet.
Yep, that's definitely some back.
Down goes Nino.
It's a little bit slightly better if you only listen with one ear and you pretend like you're humming while holding your nose, then it sounds fine. So it's a little bit halfway slightly better and worse. And full of back.
No damn research, they rework and copy on Cox that came first, 9th inning, second string, and they acting like they know hitters, assholes throwing bullshit.
Chinese clocks only have soon, sooner, and later. That's it.
Who the fuck is in my window with this time of the night? These parasites, these leeches with all their secret meetings, teaching all you fucking cretins about baby.